correctly with the correct amount.
And now for our feature presentation.
And we interrupt your regularly scheduled Batman retrospective to bring you the Untitled Movie Show. Yes, this is the Untitled Movie Show for Wednesday, February 18th, 2015. I'm, of course, your host, the Peter Venkman of the Retro Unlim Network, Mr. Miguel Leon. And y'all know my assistants. He's the Dan Aykroyd of the Retro Unlim channel, Mr. Michael Burhan.
Yes, and I wrote the script. I basically produced it with Ivan Reitman, and now they've put a bunch of girls in it and said that they're not going to acknowledge any of us.
We'll get to that event. We'll get to that eventually. We will, but we also have to introduce the Harold Ramis of the Retro Unlim channel, except that he is in fact alive, Mr. Dave Wade.
Well, his career.
I'm just going to say, what am I dead? Am I?
Well, your career.
Sorry, we miss you, Harold.
Yeah, we do. I remember his last performance I saw him in, which was Knocked Up.
Oh, was he in that? Oh, I forgot.
No.
He was Seth Rogen's daddy.
And last but not least, we have the Janine Melnitz of the Retro Unlim channel, Miss Anina Kasky.
Hello, hello, hello.
How's Lewis Tully working out for you?
Yeah, whatever happened to him? He kind of disappeared after mid-90s.
Yeah,
didn't he?
Basically, his wife passed on, so he took his kids and raised them. Which I think, you know what, that's a good person.
Admirable.
Yeah, I heard that he just concentrated on his family, which is really nice.
His wife passed on.
His greatest movie is My Blue Heaven.
Oh.
She passed on after, basically, I believe it was cancer.
Yeah, well, that's you know that's a real human person right there, and we won't be talking about
themselves and their family and not Hollywood.
No, exactly. He could walk away, and he was happy about walking away. Apparently, he wanted to reprise his role for the new Ghostbusters movie until it got
which we'll be
over.
talking about today, as well as other bits of news, because this is our news segment. Yes, all the news has happened in the time between we did our last news segment and this one, so I've decided to put a little bit of a buffer between our Batman retrospective. We'll be returning to that next week.
We do need a buffer before we talk about Batman and Robin, let's be honest.
Yeah, we need a bit of a refresher, a cleanser, if you will, for that one. But yeah, we have a news episode today, and I actually wanted to start off because I actually got a chance to go to the movies recently, and I wanted to talk about the movie I saw. I got a chance for the day before Valentine's Day. I took a trip up to Tampa to see my folks, and me and my little sister went to go see the new SpongeBob movie. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Sponge Out of Water. So I guess you could consider this a bit of a review of that, I guess.
I wanted to see that.
What was that?
I wanted to see that.
You should.
I actually wanted to see it more than I wanted to see 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, well, of course.
Well, that's not a lot,
honestly, my little sister's 10 years old, and when we walked up to the counter, I had to fight with all of my being to look at the ticket person and go, 2 for 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I did. I went up when I went to see the movie. I went to the ticket person and went, "Can I see the movie about the tea, please?" And my friend looked at me and just went, "What?"
That's quite funny.
Yeah, and he was just looking at me. He goes, "I don't get it." I was like, 50 Shades of Earl Grey. Whoa! And she just looked.
Did you have your pinky in your mouth like Dr. Evil when you did that?
Yeah, and then I did the finger, and then the guy looked at her and went, "He's quite a catch," and she's like, "We're not together." I was like, "She says that now, but wait until this movie's done."
Well, speaking of British movies, I'm excited because this Friday I'm going to go see The Kingsman. Even if I have to go see it by myself, I'm going to go see The Kingsman because I've heard nothing but good things
in the box office. I can't.
Yeah, it's not doing very well, is it?
No.
Oh, that makes me so sad because that movie looks so good.
I've heard really things. I've heard people saying it's really good and also that it's really bad.
It's a shame because I think it has potential, but I can understand that it's kind of the release schedule was rather the two movies.
Was that Windy Pops there, Mr. Burhan? Was that stealth Windy Pops I hear?
That was. It's fighting against 50 Shades and the SpongeBob movie, so it's kind of the wrong time for it to be out at this point in time.
That's unfortunate because I honestly think if it did come out during like the summer season, it would have just been demolished because between Avengers and all the other ones.
Yeah, but do you think they thought, if we release this against 50 Shades, it's a shoo-in, everyone's going to hate that movie, we'll be quids in.
No.
It turns out, even though that movie's shit, everyone loves it.
The thing is, they've been very shrewd with that movie, and it's the same. You know, it's like you can release garbage on a day when you know that people are going to see it, and it was it was something that people were going to see. But we can talk about that in a minute. Miguel, tell us about SpongeBob.
Yeah, I mean it's the fact that they released it the day before Valentine's Day tells you has all been calculated. But in terms of the SpongeBob movie, I enjoyed it. I really did. Is it
like the first one in the show that is an adult? There is that second level of humor in there. So if you go and see it with kids, you can still enjoy stuff. You know.
Yes, it's got that mix of very broad humor that kids and adults can like. It's not the kind of one where it throws like dirty jokes in the background that are kind of cringeworthy. No, this one is just very broad, but it's got that kind of random humor nature to it that SpongeBob kind of pioneered. And it got me thinking, to go off on a bit of a tangent, it amazes me that this franchise has been as prolific as it has. Can you imagine that this thing has been around for 16 years now? I believe it's the longest running... Yeah, it's the longest running franchise that Nickelodeon has had. I can't think of another one that's lasted so long.
It took so long between movies.
Do you know what this franchise was spawned from, though? Which cartoon series?
I think I've seen the pictures where like a reference to SpongeBob was in an episode of Hey Arnold at one point.
Try again.
Where did it start off from?
Spunky.
Oh really? Oh yeah. Half the production crew is from Rocko's Modern Life. Yeah. I do remember that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love Rocko's Modern Life, by the way.
Yeah, half the production crew. I think Steve Hillenburg, who was the showrunner, started off working with Joe Murray on Rocko's Modern Life. Tom Kenny, who does the voice of SpongeBob, did the voice of Heifer. Mr. Lawrence, who does the voice of Plankton, did the voice of Filbert. I mean, most of the people that worked on
Life, the show that the bloke who got shafted when he created Ren and Stimpy, and then the studio took the rights away from him in complete control of it. That was his pet project.
No, you're thinking of John O. John O worked on what's it called, on Ren and Stimpy. Rocko's Modern Life was Joe Murray, different company altogether. But John O was so, was so hopped up on heroin at that point. I would have taken the rights from him too. But yeah, SpongeBob's been around.
Oh my god! Now I completely understand Ren.
Yeah,
I have a confession to make. I am probably the only person on the planet. I don't like SpongeBob SquarePants.
You're not the only person.
You're not.
Hate me.
Yeah.
You're not the only person. You can hate me all you want. You can hate me all you want. I've got this thing. Probably because I'm really into visual arts and I nearly went to art school. But it's the drawing style. It has that drawing style of bad on purpose. And that really bothers me. I cannot watch an animation that's bad on purpose. I can't do it. And I feel really bad because it's probably a great show. It's probably really funny, but I cannot watch more than 5 minutes of it because I'm like, why are you so badly drawn? Why? So
I can understand that.
And custard, though?
No, but the thing is, it's one of my favorite. Actually, it is one of my favorite shows because it was actually like at the beginning I kind of didn't like it, but then it was a way for me to bond with my eldest daughter, and it became...
Fair enough, I understand completely that I'm in the minority, and I know I've got a thing that is...
There are others who I know who I am friends with who looked at me and went, apparently it's proven that SpongeBob lowers your IQ levels.
Oh, that's...
I don't believe that. But I know it's silly to not like a cartoon because of something, just a visual thing. I can't get past it. I can't.
At least I'll say this. At least you don't like it.
Cartoon. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I've got to make a point, but I'll let you do yours first. Besides, I'm taking a sip of tea.
My favorite cartoon is the Moomins. And nothing beats the Moomins because one, they're Finnish, so that makes them awesome, and two,
we're talking the original Moomins here, which is stop animation. Yes. That has some really, really dark episodes, like one where Jack Frost comes across the land, and if you're outside, you die.
Both. I like the stop motion animation, and I love the one that was drawn by the Japanese. A lot of people mistakenly think Moomins are Japanese because it was drawn by Japanese people, but the original author Andor is a Finnish woman, and she's
there's loads of their folklore in it. You can see it from the some of the story. I love the original stop animation Moomins. It used to be on, because I'm old, as you know, people. It used to be on, when I came home from school. I used to get like 5 minutes of it a day. And come back Moomins.
I recently found the DVDs. I found the DVDs, and this is a bit of a teaser.
DVD.
Yes, if you go to Covent Garden, there's a Moomin store, and you can buy the DVD.
Oh, I think I've got wood.
And yeah, that is a little piece of heaven in Covent Garden. That store. And I'm not plugging them.
I send you the money,
because I'm getting money. I'm plugging them because I love them.
Nina, if I send you some money, will you mail them to me?
Sure, yeah, sure. They're about 12 quid per DVD, so expensive but worth it.
Oh, totally worth it.
But I will be making. I'm planning a YouTube video on the Moomin cartoon, so hopefully I will get that done.
I've got the theme tune running through my head.
I know. That is my childhood in a nutshell, and I love the Moomins because it was actually, like you said, it was actually it could get very dark, and it didn't try to hide it from children. It wasn't like, no children, just look at this fuzzy thing. It would tackle dark subjects.
People died in the Moomins.
Exactly, and resolve it. It was about life.
Thankfully,
it was
none
so
of the
sweet.
Moomins died.
It was really funny. It was really intelligent. But there were some, like the Hattie Fatteners. They were terrifying. They were terrifying. You touched them, you got electrocuted. But they weren't menacing. They just were electric. But that was
Little Mice scared the shit out of me.
Anyway, I sidetracked from SpongeBob, but I'm sorry, I
just
can't get on the fan train of SpongeBob.
On the subject of SpongeBob, I have to say I actually have a SpongeBob sponge in my shower. It's kind of wrong to wash yourself with his face, but at the same time, it's SpongeBob.
Yeah, that might be creepy. But then again, I have SpongeBob pajama bottoms, so it's. Yeah, I got them for Christmas from my family, sometime in the late 2000s. But yeah, you know what? I'll say this, Anina, in terms of not liking SpongeBob. At least you don't like it because of the art style, and not because
you have
of
a credible
the whole
reason.
Yeah,
not because of a lot of.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing because I just can't get past that one thing about it, and it's such a essential part of it. I can't get into it, and I feel bad.
At least it's not. Going back to what I was saying, at least it's not the whole underlining agenda argument that a lot of people make. You know, the fact that, and I've heard this argument. A lot of people consider SpongeBob's they consider SpongeBob to be an under the rug mascot for the gay agenda because he's happy and he has a male best friend and they're really close. Who's pink
ridiculous.
And yeah, there was a whole controversy a couple years back. I forget which organization. It wasn't a gay organization, but they did. They had SpongeBob and Patrick singing a rendition of "We Are Family." It was probably some family-based organization, and they got blasted for people because they felt that SpongeBob and Patrick were under the rug mascots of the gay agenda and were promoting that lifestyle.
SpongeBob has been in love with a Krabby Patty.
Yeah.
You know what annoys me about that? Those people who do this, which is, you do know, right, that you can't make someone gay just as you can't make a gay person straight. It's not a lifestyle choice. You're born that way, so the fact that you're scared that a kid's cartoon might be, which it isn't, doing that just makes you a massive fucking stupid stool head.
I know, because it's been proven with bloody science, and it's still like, no. You watch the wrong thing and boom, suddenly. That's it.
I was a massive fan of Will and Grace.
Will and Grace was great. I love that show.
I love that show.
My dad liked that show.
That was like gay
I used to watch it with my dad.
I loved the season when they got married as well.
I used to like it. I went back and tried to watch some older episodes, and they don't. I don't know. I feel like the humor's a little bit too on the nose looking back on it. I loved it when I was like growing up, when I was a young kid. But going back and watching it, it's like, ooh, these episodes just don't hold up as good as I thought it was.
Let me tell you about my mornings.
it was very much of its time, and now it wouldn't work because it's not, the late 90s.
It would probably be considered, it would probably be considered blackface, gay blackface or something, which even back then I heard some people talking about that, and that was the 2000s. You try to put something out there now, I can see how people would probably get up in arms about it. But yeah, none of that.
You could also argue to the same degree Seinfeld wouldn't work these days.
True that. Let me just say my thoughts on the SpongeBob movie as a bit of a review. It's not as good as the first one. I still to this day love the first movie. To me that was to me that was a great little road movie. That was something. It was a very simple plot, but it kept going, and there was an actual arc to the characters. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think it still holds up even today. This one, however, felt like a 90-minute episode of the series. It was a lot of gags that were strung together fairly well, but you never felt like there was an actual story arc. There was a storyline, but it was more just to get from one point to another than as opposed to the arc of the first movie. That being said, it's still got the same humor. It's still, like I said, I think the best way I can describe it is if you're already a fan of the series, you'll like this show. If you're not, you won't like it. It's not made, it's not an introductory movie like the first one could have been. This one is strictly for fans. And you know what? I'm a fan. I've been a fan ever since my little sister was born. That was going back to what Burhan said about, bonding. That was a big thing between me and her. So I knew I had to watch this with her in the theaters. It's a safe movie. It doesn't take it. It's not something you could be ashamed of if you're a parent to take your kids to watch. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty good. The movie does kind of
shows. It's their mother doesn't like it very much. My dad used to think it was boring, but I love SpongeBob. And the thing is, as Miguel put it out, he's simplistic. The jokes are funny. You've got characters that are very I wouldn't even say linear. They're very multi-layered, and you'd have off-the-wall jokes. It's like watching a Three Stooges short, basically, with these guys. It's simplistic. It works. It's SpongeBob. I would consider like the Looney Tunes show. It's a very nice little treat. It's like a sitcom in itself.
Yeah. And honestly, I would say it was kind of the grandfather of modern of this generation's art style, but I think it's probably the best example of it, which is the random non sequitur humor.
Yeah.
A style of comedy that I think was taken a little bit too far with the likes of Adventure Time and Regular Show. I know a lot of people that hate those, and especially Uncle Grandpa.
I like Adventure Time and Regular Show, but again, they're stuff my kids watch. Adventure Time though is a bit darker in its own sense.
That's the thing is they're kind of it's almost like they saw that SpongeBob was appealing to the very adult Gen Xers, kind of it was kind of like the last hurrah for that 90s era of cartoons, but at the same time it hit really big with millennials like us.
Yeah.
So I feel like new artists are kind of taking that formula and taking it a little bit too far to where I could see how people would hate Regular Show and Adventure Time and how it just kind of loses them, and same thing with Uncle Grandpa. But to me, I would say out of that type of art style, I'd say SpongeBob is still probably the most populous. I think it's still, that's why it's held up even to this day.
And also because they don't do too many new episodes now. It's kind of like they'll do about 5 or 6, then they'll space it out and do another 5 or 6, and then space it out.
Yeah.
They never rush with it, and that's the great thing about it. It's one of those where they've got such a back catalogue that you can hold it off in a sense. You know what I mean? You don't have to.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's basically, I would say in terms of kids shows, I'd say SpongeBob is probably the Simpsons of kids shows.
But I think it's far superior quality though in terms of the writing. The writing still holds, whereas the Simpsons kind of is kind of moving to a different direction. SpongeBob kind of still holds itself as
for the most part.
Yeah, the comedy's still there in a sense, and I can't wait to watch this movie.
Oh yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I'll say this though, in terms of SpongeBob's longevity, you can tell the difference between early season SpongeBob and new season SpongeBob in the comedy, because I've watched it since the beginning, and I can tell the difference between the Steve Hillenburg episodes when he was the showrunner and he was first starting, to now where it's Paul Tibbitt, who was one of the producers from the first few seasons. Now he's the showrunner. You can tell that most of the people that originally wrote the show have kind of left. It's kind of like how you can tell the difference between when Matt Groening was running the Simpsons and when Al Jean took over, has been taking over since about the late 90s. You can tell there was a shift in tone. It's not a jarring shift, but if you're as long of a fan as I have, you can kind of tell.
Yeah,
but that's
I've got all the box sets from season 1 onwards, because I was watching it from Nick as well. When I had Sky, now I just stream all the episodes, the new episodes and stuff. And my daughters and I and my sons watch it religiously. I've got the SpongeBob movie soundtrack. That's how much of a fan I am. That's on my iPod when I go to the gym and stuff. It's a fun show. It's something that you don't have to take seriously, and the writing's always good. It's not amazing, but it's good.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's still solid, and it's probably one of the last bits of actual animated animation on Nick at this point, because I think even some of the stuff that they started in the 2000s has kind of died down. It's mostly doing just reruns. At this point. It's the only one that's continuing. So, support it, guys. If you're a millennial like us and you grew up watching the movie, it's for you. Even if you're a new parent, even if you're a parent and your kid maybe likes it, take them to see it. It's a really solid little movie. It's not. It doesn't insult your intelligence like most animated features do nowadays. There's a reason why it beat out that other movie that came out around that same time, which I'm glad. I'm so happy that this got the #1 spot. Enough of that.
I'm glad too, because I really think that this is a well thought out movie. When I saw the trailer for it, I was excited. I wanted to go and see it with my kids. I might go and see it myself and look like an old pervert in the cinema, but I might do that. But it's
don't wear a Mac. You'll be fine as long as you don't wear a Mac.
Yeah, or a trench coat. But yeah, it looks fun. It looks really fun. It looks like something that I myself would probably get on Blu-ray when it comes out.
I'm gonna wait until they put out both movies, because they're gonna 2-pack this, and I'll probably end up getting that. Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah, but I went to the cinema too. I went to the cinema on Valentine's Day and watched 50 Shades of Grey.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Legitimately, you're not doing this just to set up for a joke.
Legitimately, I had a friend of mine who wanted to go and see it in the cinema. She was going to go with her girlfriends, but no one was available on that day, so she asked me to go. Well, I kind of said, "Hey, I'll go with you," and we felt kind of awkward because, you didn't want to. It was one of those
Describe
things where
rest
couples...
of the cinema to us, audience-wise, Mr. Burhan.
Who
was the audience around you who went to see this movie?
That's the thing. We felt kind of awkward because we sat there and thought, "Oh God, it's going to be couples and people in love who are going to go and see this movie." And it
was 127 Pee Wee Hermans.
Well, the cinema was jam packed. I'm not going to lie, it was jam packed. I made a joke going into the cinema, saying about that. I made an Earl Grey joke saying, "I'm going to go and see the movie about tea." Which the guy at the counter wasn't amused. He didn't get it. He didn't understand my humour, which is sad.
Well, being someone who works in a cinema, 50 Shades of Grey is basically the bane of our lives. So any sort of humour, you'll just be like, just go in.
Well,
please.
babe, he was a security guard that handed out tickets.
No jokes,
he wasn't actually
people. No jokes. Just go in.
He wasn't.
We've
actually
heard them all
but we went
in there.
We've heard them all.
We had a meal. We're
dreading what we find in the screen afterwards already. So
well, we had a meal beforehand, and I was getting hit on by a waitress on that day, and she was like, "Why don't you go and get a number?" I was like, "No, I'm with you today. It's ridiculous. I can't do that, So we went to cinema. I went to watch it. And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh God, I'm going to be well awkward." You've got people in love in here. You've got teenagers. You've got people with their friends, girls with their friends, looking like they have their ovaries explode, and as soon as the movie started, the one thing that I looked at, it said Danny Elfman did the soundtrack. I was like,
"Oh, fuck off, really?"
Yeah, I looked at this and I was like, "Really?"
I'm a little bit upset with him right now.
Yeah, and my friend's not a movie buff, and she knew who Danny Elfman was, and she was just like, "What the fuck?" So we watched the movie. It's supposed to be a story about a love story that's got BDSM elements in it. It turns into a movie about a billionaire with too much free time on his hands, stalking a young virgin and grooming her to be his sex slave. That's what the movie is about. It's funny because there's no chemistry between the actors in this movie.
Funny for the wrong reasons, as you're basically saying.
Yeah, the main actor's robotic. His performance is extremely robotic. He's just there. It's like he's there because he's got a good set of abs. You get boob shots in the movie, like high body shots and stuff of the main actress who's playing Anastasia. She's just ridiculous. You've got a Mexican character who's just like shoehorned in there by the name of Jose, just so that she can say the words "No way, Jose" when he tries to kiss her. You've got like,
dear Lord,
it's literally, it's comical. It's so bad, it's comical, and I think Universal kind of knew it was going to be like that, so they kind of sold it as a love story. The book is supposed to be a love story as well. The contract.
Oh, they were shrewd, and they sold it as a love story, but they also knew that the fact that it's because they must have watched the final edit and realised it was shit. That it also has crossover appeal for, you know, stoners and people who just like to go and rip apart a movie. So all their eggs are literally not in one basket.
The people who went to see this movie were young teenage girls and couples.
And you.
And me. But I sat there and I was like, I want to see this movie for the point of it, because one, the person that I went with, I've kind of got there's a relationship.
You were there to see it as the movie it was and understand it, or, you know, review it, or, you know, critique it, whereas everyone else was there for the idea of what the movie was. They were there for the book. They didn't need to bloody go there, let's be honest.
I kind of left my review hat at the door, and the movie itself is just one big parody. It parodies the book.
Is it the Naked Gun of sex movies?
Pretty much. And there's basically, it makes the sex scene in Watchmen look credible. And it does make me laugh. I had a giggle fit. She had a giggle fit. Everyone else was cracking up. Every time some dialogue was spoken about sex, everyone in the cinema started splitting a gut. I literally just couldn't stop laughing because of the amount.
I've just decided I'm going to see this movie, and just to annoy everyone around me, every time they mention the word sex, mention the word sex, I'm just going to go titmouse.
No, but
do you think anyone was actually turned on by this film?
No one was turned on. Everyone was laughing hilarious. The entire cinema cracked up with laughter, and the worst part of this movie is it actually ends abruptly. Like because
they know that they're going to have sequels.
Yeah, but it literally.
Or the projectionist had the good taste just to turn it off, and you didn't see the end.
The one thing I will say about this movie is, it seems like a Danielle Steele serial.
Oh,
that's what I can compare it to. It's literally one of those love books with some guy with his glistening abs on the cover. This is what this movie is. Everybody who got offended and said, "Oh my god, it's so bad," you know, it's torture porn. It's not. It's a creepy love story. This is the type of love story if Bruce Wayne became a psychopath and decided that he was obsessed with someone. There's literally, you don't know what the guy does. You don't know who Christian Grey is and what he's done. You have a bit at the beginning which is shoehorned in about him working on agricultural projects and feeding third world countries and stuff like that. And it cracks me up because I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for the girls to go, "Oh," do you know what I mean? It's seriously hilarious. It's a really, really bad movie. And it's room standards of bad.
Well, I'm sold on never seeing it.
All this movie needed was Tommy Wiseau to go, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." It's just, it's terrible.
No, it needs Ralph Wiggum to say, "I choo choo choo."
You know, and the soundtrack is so cheesy as well because literally that is Ralph Wiggum. You have elements in this movie where he goes out of tone as well. Like for some reason there's a scene where he ends up just sitting there on a bed and randomly tells her that his mum's a crack addict, and you're just like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? You know,
because he is deep, man. That's what it is.
But there's a bit where I couldn't contain myself, where he stood there and she goes, "Why won't you love me?" And he's like, "'Cause I'm 50 shades of fucked up." And I was like,
oh my god.
He said
I think I would have walked out of the theater at that point. If I hadn't already by that point, that line would have been like, "Nope, done. Sorry."
But it's
See,
if you leave your review hat at the door, the film will make you laugh for all the wrong reasons. But it wasn't sexy. It wasn't romantic. It was hilariously bad. To the point
Do you think when it gets released on DVD, when it had the little bites at the bottom from newspapers and stuff, based on what you just said, Bert, it'd be brilliant. None of them will say like a scintillating, erotic movie. It just says funniest shit I've ever seen. Greatest comedy gold of the year.
Michael Burhan underneath.
I literally, I'm going to do a review for Movie File on this movie, and I am going to put comedy gold. The funniest movie. This is, to me, the funniest movie, the most unintentional funniest movie of the year.
A Naked Gun for the naughties.
It is literally Naked Gun. This movie should not take itself seriously.
Well, ironically, it's not a Naked Gun because apparently he keeps his cannon in his pants.
It doesn't go that far. It shows everything else from what I've heard, but no, it skimps out on the male member, which I think was. Look, I'm a straight man, but come on, that's a cop out. If you're going to basically do a sexual movie,
fair.
you got to go.
Exactly. It is.
I mean,
it's such a cop out.
Yeah, I mean, if they did this in the '80s, they would have. If they'd have done this in like the late '80s, early '90s,
Bruce Willis would have done it and got his winky out of the swimming pool.
Yeah, but I know why they did it. They did it because they wanted to appeal to everybody. This movie should have been an 18. They made it into a 15.
I guarantee
they're not appealing to everyone. They're exploiting the bird, but not the bloke. So that's not appealing to everyone. That's just chauvinistic.
How many women are gonna? Mostly, I'm guessing 60 upwards percent of viewers will be women. So why not?
Surely this, the book is aimed at women, and so if it's aimed at women, the women, want to go in there and see a naked bird and no bloke running around with his truncheon.
I said this before when we were off air. The movie is directed at, like the movie and the book, and the reason why the book was so successful is directed at housewives and tweens. The Twilight teens and the bored housewives sitting at home. These are the people who read this. I do not think any intelligent person would read 50 Shades and think it's a stellar masterpiece.
No, I'm going to watch it just so I can get my soundbite on the cover that says, Dave Wade, Lawn Boys Post 1975 says, 50 Shades of Grey, more like 50 Shades of Shit.
Well, it's literally, the thing is, what makes me laugh is people getting so riled up about this, it's torture porn, it's this. It's contrary to that fact. It is not that. It's bad. And if you want to protest the movie for being bad, go for it. But it's running at a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's quite reasonable for them, isn't it?
Already grossed 99 million, I believe.
What was its budget?
I don't know, actually. Let me just check what the budget was on there. I don't think that's been released as of yet, but I will check.
If there's one thing I could say is that right now the movie's running at a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, so it's gone down since I last checked.
They should have let Lucas make it, because then if he was, prudish and didn't want to get his schlong out, they could have just CG'd one in.
That's the thing. Me and
hold on. I hate to cut you off, but I just have to say the soundbite because this is the critics' consensus, and you can tell the writer of this was basically just tugging himself off when he was doing this literarily. I mean, critics' consensus: while creatively better endowed than its print counterpart, 50 Shades of Grey is a less than satisfying experience on the screen. Ha 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 ha. Ugh, hang yourself.
Yeah, the sequel is planned for a 2016 release. It's made 270 million.
I might have to hire you,
it's made
Miguel,
270 million on
a
budget
trailer voice
of
my
40 million. It's made a budget of 40 million. It's already made back 270 million. It's made a profit.
Yeah.
Shit. I guess it's ironic that shit does sell.
Yeah, because it's an award-winning, and again, I use that term loosely, novel.
Is it an award winning? Did it actually win an award?
Yeah.
Like best fucking Shazpass or something.
No, it's and the writer E.L. James makes 1 million an hour.
Too shy to reach for the top shelf. That's all right. 50 Shades of Grey is available on the middle one.
This is the Shia LaBeouf of books.
Well, people are seeing this film. People are seeing this film because they think they're being, ooh, look at me, I'm being edgy. I'm being naughty. That's why they're
I've
saying
got something to talk about at my dinner party instead of saying
exactly. Tars, you'll never believe what I did on the weekend. That's what this is. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I think
I have to see it to be cool. That's what it.
Well, I went to see it because I was helping a friend out, and in the end,
Were you, Burhan? You can be honest with us. We're all friends here.
Well, okay, I fancied the person who I was going to see it with. But yeah, Jamie Dornan, the guy who's Christian Grey, his performance was weak. Dakota Johnson, which makes me laugh because her name sounds like a penis. And her name was Anastasia Steele. Okay, these names you can't make it up. This book should not be taken seriously. Like Christian Grey, okay. Then you've got like freaking. Let me find out who was. Oh yeah, Victor Rasuk as Jose Rodriguez.
Oh my! They basically the name's.
Can you think of a more
Johnny
stereotypical name than Jose Rodriguez?
Well, all I'm saying, I think he was literally put in that movie or in the book so that she could just say "No way, Jose" to him.
Basically, well, no, you said Nina. Which is, can you think of a more stereo? When they just name the character "I am Mexican."
Exactly. Yeah.
It is. It's literally just like the Mexican stereotype that they put in there, just for the show. Again, is this movie worth the money like it's been making? Probably not. But it is hilarious.
I wonder how many incredible, amazing movies that would have blown our shiny little tits off would never get made because this did, and it making this mass amount of money, and the rest of Hollywood's going to do what they... You know, when stuff gets released in pairs, like when Armageddon came out, you got Deep Impact, you know, like everything pairs up. Does this mean the rest of Hollywood now is rubbing its hands and going, we need a fucking softcore porn flick now, and so many good projects are going to get stifled and not a chance to shine?
The reason why this even happened was because it made so much money as a novel. The writer, as basically, I believe she's on her way to becoming a billionaire just by this book alone.
She's the J.K. Rowling of smut.
She is the J.K.
and
Rowling.
she gets. I'm sure she has deals with all these sex shops as well.
Yeah,
for
she's the
making
J.K. Rowling. She is the J.K. Rowling of shit.
Paraphernalia.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling of shit. So there you go. That's that put on there. And by the way, I just want to introduce Travis Goss has joined us on the call today.
Has he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, hey Travis, what's going on, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. How have you guys been doing so far?
We're good. We're talking 50 Shades of
good.
Shit.
We're talking tonight's our news episode, so we're going through some movie news here and there, and Burhan was just giving his review of the 50 Shades of Grey adaptation that he went to go see.
By the way, do you wanna know what I would give it out of a 5?
-5.
I would give it a 3.
What?
And I'll tell you why.
Wow.
The unintentional.
Never talk about a softcore porn movie and use the phrase 5. Sorry.
No, the unintentional comedy. That's the only thing that saved this movie. The unintentional comedy. If I took it seriously and if I reviewed this as a film buff and also as someone who directs and writes movies himself, this is not a movie. By all intents and purposes, this is not a movie. I would not... If you tell a screenwriter to write this, they would be looking at you funny. Anyone who gets paid and takes their work seriously would not write this movie.
I just have a horrible...
Yeah.
Anyone that basically... You know, its cinematography is beautiful. It's
Please don't tell me when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray there's going to be a
beautifully, like it appears beautifully well, but in terms of the characters, in terms of the actors, anybody who does this movie is just gonna be they're gonna feel dirty afterwards. What I will say is,
you shower when you went home.
It's a hit, and it's a hit because it's targeted a certain audience. And the problem is, and I've said this. We have gotten used to we as an audience have gotten used to shit, and because of that, people are gonna watch shit. It's funny. Does it deserve the hate it's getting? Yes. Does it deserve the bad reviews it's getting? Yes. But it's still funny, and it's still gonna get a cult following because the fact that the movie is hilariously bad.
So they do release a harder cut, no pun intended, on DVD that's got, more risque, more sex scenes.
They're not going to show anything like that because
it's going to be... No, but they do. They should call it 50... I'm making a joke. They should call it 50 Shades of... Sorry.
Well, Patma says, double standard 2, women gets her bits on camera, but men, no. This is not a film for the theatre goer who wants depth, intelligence, or art. I agree, Patmus. Nor is the book.
The Bruce Willis movie, Colour of Night. Bruce Willis got his winky out, didn't he?
Did an amazing video on her book. Love that girl. I will say this, Patmus. See Gilbert Godfrey doing a reading of it. He's fucking... Oh my god. College Humor did an amazing video with him on it.
I actually saw a video of somebody did at a con. They had John St. John, the voice of Duke Nukem, on stage, and somebody actually handed him a copy of the book, and he read out bits and pieces in the Duke Nukem voice. It's hilarious. Look up John St. John, 50 Shades of Grey.
There's a whole new
I gotta
market
do my
now.
impression then.
Yeah, go on, Travis.
I gotta do this impression. And now, John St. John, as Duke Nukem reads 50 Shades of Grey.
I want to see Nicolas Cage read it. That would be hilarious.
I want to hear two people that spring to mind, because this is a whole new market we've just created. The audio book of it should be able to vote out who you want. I want to hear Stephen Fry read it.
Oh my God, no.
I want to hear
you
Patrick
can't.
Stewart read it.
No.
And the final one I
Stephen
want to
Fry's
hear
too
read it would
precious
be...
for something like this.
Yeah, Arnold
Stephen Fry would
Schwarzenegger.
classy it up, though.
Arnold
Stephen Fry would classy
Schwarzenegger
it up
reads 50 Shades of Grey.
No. Charlie Sheen. It's a marriage made in heaven.
He would basically go Tiger Blood.
I will say this about the movie.
Come on.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's been done. I just want to say that apparently we don't know what we're talking about because several high-level critics have actually given it positive reviews. Like, here's a bit from Leonard Maltin, classic film reviewer.
I just spat beer on my mouth. Leonard Maltin.
Yeah, he gave it a positive review. He said, here's a quote from his review on Rotten Tomatoes. 50 Shades of Grey, which gingerly crosses into the questionable subject mark, may not be the film some of the book's readers were hoping to witness. Okay, I don't know why that means that it's a good movie, I guess.
It's a cleaned up version of the book.
I guess it's because he didn't say...
Okay,
the fact that he didn't say it was shit counts as it being
all
a
I want to
positive
say is
review.
Leonard Maltin is being paid for that review because I will wholeheartedly disagree with him. It doesn't have a touchy subject on it because the subject matter is barely there. It basically doesn't talk about the subject matter. It's more about this guy's obsession with this girl, a rather unhealthy obsession. This movie should be retitled to Serial Rapist Guide to Picking Up Women.
Yeah. And Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune writes, 50 Shades of Grey turns out to be an intriguing tussle, not in the sack or in the Red Room of Pain, but in its internal war between the dubious erotica of James's novel, the first of the three, and the far craftier trash offered by the movie.
That's still not a
So
positive
basically,
review.
from what I'm noticing, what I'm noticing from a lot of these excerpts is that they're grading it on a curve because it's better than the book.
Yeah.
Is that really fair? Is that really fair to say that, okay, it's not as awful as the book, so it gets a pass?
That's like
That's
telling
like saying
your...
a photograph of
That's
dog
like telling
shit
your
is not as
kid
bad
who's
as the
not-
dog shit in person.
That's telling
Yeah.
you, like,
it should
if
be
you have a set
graded
of
as
twins...
a film. Surely if you're doing a film review, you should review it as a film instead of the source material. You can
That's
you
the
can make a
thing.
passing comment at the source material.
No, but Anina,
But you
you've got
should
to also look
grade
at
it as a
its-
film.
You've got to look at the way that it gorges its audience. If it engages its audience, the film's a success.
True, but reviews are just your opinion. Review is just one opinion.
No, of
But
course.
why they go in this
I
route with it?
mean-
That's like saying
But
when
it's-
Noah came out, people, reviewed Noah and said, well, the movie's alright, but my biggest problem with it is the Bible's not real.
No, but the thing is that, as I said, if I look at this movie and I look at Noah is probably more scripted, better written.
No, that's not the point I was making.
No, but what I'm saying to you is 50 Shades, this movie can't be taken seriously because it's based on shit. The movie itself is
It's
shit.
great. You need that on the cover. Michael Byrne says this movie cannot be taken seriously because it's based on shit.
It can't be taken seriously. Look, when you've got a film that's supposed to be sexy and stimulating, making everybody in the cinema crack
Well, no, I
up.
agree. I'm just saying that was a brilliant soundbite.
Yeah, but it's in the end, there's only two things about this movie that makes it work. The fact that it engages the audience and the cinematography that makes it appeal, like aesthetically, it looks nice. But it can't be taken seriously. It's not a movie that you can sit there and say, this is going to be an amazing movie. Because look at the time it took to make it as well, which is really, really like...
No pun intended, but wasn't it banged out really quickly?
Yeah.
And cheaply, honestly. $40 million is pretty... I get it. You're not doing Transformers 6, but $40 million is a low-budget movie.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and it does make me laugh because the one thing, there's only one thing I came away from looking at that movie, and that's I looked at Christian Grey's apartment and just went, I wish I had his apartment, it looks nice.
That's when you know you're not engaged with the film. If you start going, oh, I like that lamp.
No, I just.
Oh, I want that carpet.
The dialogue is terrible. It's cheesy. This movie, in all intents and purposes, could be a B movie, and a really cheaply filmed guerrilla B movie.
See, I disagree. I'm gonna disagree slightly on that because, and I've said it before, the premise of the movie isn't bad. If it had been given to an actual director with a vision and didn't just kind of play it safe, which from what I'm hearing is kind of the case, it played it way too safe and stuck to the source material too much. Like I said, it could have been a nice little late 80s, early 90s throwback movie, you know? Like, this premise, I could see if somebody gave this in, like, the 80s to, like, maybe a William Friedkin, maybe gotten, like, you know, I can't think of who you would get in the late 80s, early 90s to play in those roles, but you get a good, solid cast of people and a director with a vision. I mean, considering, you know, the run we have of erotic thrillers in the early 90s with Basic Instinct, you know, and the movies after that, I could see a director...
I could name you 20 different movies from the early 90s that does this better than this.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at it and how it holds up towards the test of time, this movie is not made for a film goer. It's not made for those who go into cinema who love film. This is made for the people, and I'm going to use that term loosely, who buy 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, this is...
And
this,
also,
it was...
Yeah.
It was when it came out on Valentine's Day or the day before. It was for guys who can't think of what to do for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It was the amount of couples, the amount of guys who came to buy tickets at our cinema, obviously for him and his girlfriend going, this'll do. You know what I mean? You could just see it in their faces. They were like, 2 for 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, give me the good seats. That was it.
I wonder how many
Ghastly
blokes
Tales.
were really
hello there, Ghastly Tales.
Really crapping unimaginative and just went, thank you for fucking making my Valentine's Day gift a no-brainer.
Well, Dave...
Literally, honestly, I saw it. I saw these guys going, yes, I thought of something, and she didn't have to nag me.
Well, Dave, your friends at Ghastly Tales said the script was actually completely rewritten, and the director actually has some credibility, but the author rewrote the amended script. Motherfuckers were fighting a losing battle.
So it was rewritten, but
this script is a coherent
then it was rewritten
script.
by the person who didn't like the fact that they
It
rewrote
was a coherent script rewritten by E.L. James. So we've got E.L. James to thank for the fact that this movie was such a laughing catastrophe.
Well, hold on. We're saying rewritten. You basically mean what happened is she took the script, decided it wasn't good, and then went into the bathroom, and then came out and said, "Here, I've rewritten it now."
Yeah.
Needed something to do when I was taking a dump.
Basically, it's one of those you sit there and just go...
Yeah, print the script on softer paper next time, please.
Yeah, so
the best thing I've heard about this regarding this film was a tweet I saw a few days ago, which was the sexiest thing about 50 Shades of Grey is the fact that Anastasia gets a job in journalism without having to do years of unpaid internships.
That's the fantasy right there.
True,
that's
that is actually very sexy.
Well, and like most men in relationships, it wasn't allowed to finish.
And with that, let's move on to our next bit of news. And this is something I want to talk about because I just now before the show got a chance to see it, and that was the Fantastic Four trailer. I finally got a chance to see it.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
God, that trailer looks so terrible.
That trailer looked boring. That's the one thing I'll say. It brought nothing about that trailer made me think that there was anything to this movie. It was like your standard
pile of meh.
Yeah. It was very meh. And can I just say I need to get on a soapbox for this.
Go on,
can
Miguel,
I just say
I'm
getting really tired of these minimalist soundtrack trailers. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
That's the new trend with trailers, which is it's just a couple piano notes set to like beats. Yeah, it's like dong,
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 dong, dong, dong,
dong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I'm so sick of that. What happened to good?
It's the Donnie Darko of trailers, basically. It tries to make you feel it by being very minimalist.
And
But the thing about
everybody
these
does
minimalist
that.
trailers that annoys me is they all make a point now of having the studio's logo there, shiny and fantastic, and then not so much in this one, but then they do something kind of odd to it or etch it or do something, and then this music always kicks straight in on top of the logo for the studio, and it's like that's got fuck all to do with the movie.
The
Like,
problem is this movie, you could tell it was going to be shit. The character development, the fact that they were trying to put Doctor Doom as kind of a blogger, and
here's the thing. Going back to character development, there was nothing to the trailer, and it goes back to my issue with trailers like this. Is, I remember when they at least told you what the movie was about. It was like there was a little bit of character dialogue in there to tell you what the plot was. You had the voiceover guy, rest in peace, Don LaFontaine. I really miss when trailers actually told you what the movie was about. Because had that happened, had there been like a voiceover saying what these characters were about, what they were doing, giving us some semblance of a story, I probably wouldn't have thought it was that boring. I probably would have been like, okay, it kind of set the stage for what to expect. But this trailer was just boring. It just showed clips of people I don't care about. And something I just want to say about this
trailer could be a trailer for the sequel to Armageddon.
Yeah, it really could. Like, if it didn't show Fantastic Four, it could have been a trailer for anything. It was
starts
generic.
like an end of the world movie.
This could have
trailer.
This could have been a trailer for 50 Shades of Grey, basically.
No, I saw a little bit more ambition in the trailer there than in that movie. But I'll say this. Like I said, one of the things that threw me off is I still cannot get over the cast, and it's not because of the Human Torch being black. Let's just say that right now. They're too young. Like, I know that they're trying to hit a new audience with this, but I don't buy that Reed Richards is this, brilliant scientist when he's only just now been old enough to, buy an alcohol, buy a beer. I don't buy it.
One thing I did trailer, which we've not seen. I mean, I know the other Fantastic Four movies are really, really kind of really popcorn Hollywood shit, but the one thing I did like about this trailer was you did at least see some very young clips of Reed Richard, and kind of, I know what you're saying, Miguel, but kind of at least establishing that he had this burning curiosity from way back in the day as a child. Kind of like that. Other than that, nothing else in this work.
I can understand that, but I mean, you go back to the cast for the Tim Story Fantastic Four, and yes, I know nobody really likes that movie, and I understand why. I have no problem with the movie, but at least some of the actors in there at least had some grizzle to them. Like, I love Michael Chiklis. I that's one of the reasons why I do like the Fantastic Four movie, is because I'm such a dork for Michael Chiklis in there, and he's probably
a lot more chemistry in that movie as well, apart from Jessica Alba, who has no chemistry with anyone. The characters had a lot more chemistry in it. The characters worked. This, they just feel forced. It just feels like, oh look, Johnny Storm's black. See what we did? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Look, black. See?
We talked about this before. Another cast, but this is the reason Marvel cancelled Fantastic Four, isn't it?
No, they cancelled it because Fox wouldn't play ball.
Yeah, they wouldn't make a deal with them, so they're canceling the book to kind of starve.
Apparently, you're going to see the characters in like other comics, like the Avengers and stuff like that, but you're not going to see them in a Fantastic Four book anytime soon.
It's the same thing they're doing with Wolverine. I've told this story before about how they're kind of, first off, they killed Wolverine, and second of all, and I noticed this recently because I was over a friend of mine's house before this. We were playing Lego Marvel superheroes, and they just completely dump all over Wolverine. I mean, they just mock him through the entire thing, and I just couldn't help but going, wow, Marvel, you are petty. Like, I get it. You're upset that Fox won't give you back the rights to your movie, but man, Disney, you don't mess with Disney.
Yeah.
It's like walking around at school and just spreading rumors about the kid who's more popular than you.
Yeah. It's basically that, and the thing is, as I said, that Fox isn't doing themselves any favors with this trailer at all, because it's supposed to get you in like the mood for the movie. It hasn't gotten me in the mood for the movie. It actually has detracted me a lot more from it. It's made me think, you know what, I'm not going to bother with this. I'm not wasting my hard-earned cash on my very limited budget at the moment to watch this movie. And that's sad. If you can't get, the trailers are going to make you want to watch a movie. I've seen like a great comic book trailer, X-Men Days of Future Past. That trailer, oh my god, it was like watching an orgasm on screen, in a sense, because it got me excited, you know? It got me excited. It got me sitting there going, I want to watch this movie. The score, the soundtrack, it didn't pull any punches and it didn't let you know what was going on.
That's the new standard for the greatest superhero movie right now.
All it showed was the pain. Do you know what I mean? And this lovely little monologue between James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart. And you sit there and you're like, oh my god, I'm expecting big things from this movie. And I went in to watch it and it exceeded all my expectations. And that's what you should be looking for. With this movie...
the thing about the Fantastic Four trailer, though, is it reeks of, apart from the fact that it does look like a trailer for the end of the world movie, like Armageddon or something, you know, starts those big opening pan shots and some bloke just going blah, 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 Earth, people. It just, if you didn't know what the source material was, it just looks like your standard Hollywood blockbuster. It just goes, Earth is in danger, we're putting together a special team. And it's like space SWAT, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like space. Only these people can say that. You know, the fact that it's Fantastic Four is almost a secondary thought, or at least that's what I took from the trailer.
Yeah, that's for me too. It's basically, as one of those. It to me it seems as one of those which is like, okay, I can see it. I can see where they're going with it, with the X-Men Days of Future Past. But this, I don't see it. I don't see where they're going with it. I don't see what the point of this movie is. It's like the only point of its existence is for Fox to go, hey Disney, we've got your ball and we're going home.
Yeah, exactly. They're just fucking waving their flag in front of their face and got your nose.
It's like a pissing contest.
Yeah, I mean, I see more future in the Deadpool movie, you know, in terms of the X-Men universe than I do the Fantastic Four. Yeah. I know they're going to try to weave both of these franchises together, but I don't care. I really don't. And this trailer did nothing to make me care.
They're not. See, I mean, I don't know how well the other ones did. I enjoy them, you know, in a coming back from the pub, having a few too many jars if they're on TV sort of way. But they're bad examples of. I mean, Fantastic Four was the only comic I read as a kid alongside Amazing Spider-Man, but as a marketable franchise, I don't think people... Because the X-Men's brilliant. The X-Men's badass. Wolverine, Colossus, stuff like that. But Fantastic Four is just... It's like, really? These four people? Hooray! I just don't see it as a marketable franchise anymore. Like, it's not the superheroes people want to... You know, if someone says, I'm going to write you an unlimited check for amazing CG and fucking special effects and shit that'll blow your tits off, who do you want to see out of any comic book out there on the screen? Pretty sure, right, if you went to a school and asked all the kids, none of them would say Fantastic Four.
The thing is about Fantastic Four is it's supposed to be an intellectual type of group. You know, they're supposed to be a group of superheroes who...
And you cast Jessica Alba?
Yeah, exactly. Who use their minds more than anything else. Like, Sue's supposed to be the kind of the foil for Reed. She's the kind of the character that...
my clothes are falling off.
She keeps Reed in line. Then you have Ben, who's kind of the strong man of the team, and Reed, who's the intelligent counterpart. And then you have Doom, who's this complete and utter jackass. You know, he's a guy who's jealousy, there's corruption, there's a lovely subtext to the story. The problem is, no one's known how to actually put that on screen properly. No one's known how to write the script.
Well, yeah, look at the first two movies where you basically say, you look at Johnny... I mean, I know Johnny heckles him in the comics, but he does have real dear affection for him. But when you watch the first two movies, I know that's nothing to do with this one, you look at Johnny taking the piss out of the thing and you think, you're an absolute asshole. I mean, why don't you just walk up to someone and go, ha, you got AIDS? Because you're basically saying, no, look at you got turned into a rock. That's so funny. Yeah, fuck you, fuck you. Oh, what a nice, caring person you are, you dickhead, Johnny. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's one of those where I think, in terms of this, it's going to be so underwhelming. I think it's going to be... The fact that this hasn't sold the movie to me has made my...
Alright, call it now then, people. Call it now. What do you think?
Box office bust.
Stinker?
Box office
yeah,
bust.
I was going to say... Gold or stinker? I'm going to say stinker.
I think it's going to at least make its money back. It's going to break even.
I don't think so.
It's a comic book movie. Comic book movies sell. Yeah. It's a Marvel property. Even if it's a Marvel property that's not within the Marvel universe.
Mate, if you had Jessica Alba actually naked in this movie, I still don't think it would make its money back.
I think it's going to break even.
Invisible, so you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, I don't see this being an actual property moving forward, but I think they're going to at least break even and kind of,
I think it's going to
stink,
but I agree with you on that, which is I definitely don't think this is what, even though it's a big couple of fingers up for, this war between Marvel and the studios, I really don't think, which is obviously in the back of their minds they hope, this is not going to be a franchise creator.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to... I don't even think we'll see a second movie. I think it's going to bomb so badly.
At best, we'll see them pop into whatever X-Men movie they do. There'll be characters in there. I could see that. I can see this movie establishing them, and then maybe them popping up in a future X-Men movie. If that's
see,
the
that
case.
would work though. If they had little tiny. Don't even need to make this movie. Just put those characters, as little bits here and there in a new X-Men movie, and then possibly do this movie. That's
just
interesting.
Think the problem is when Reed Richards looks like a 12-year-old. That's where your problem lies.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the actor that they got to play him in the 2005 version wasn't as old, but at least he looked like you bought him as a
the
super
Welsh bloke from Hornblower.
Yeah, I forget what his name is.
That's the problem. He looked the part. This guy looks like he needs to be spoon-fed on a high chair.
One of the most cringe-worthy moments I've ever seen in a movie ever was him breaking funk on the dance floor with his Mr. Fantastic powers.
Oh, you
Oh,
loved
God.
it. You loved it, bitch.
I'll say this moving forward. Anina, have you had a chance to see this trailer?
No, because I'm
We've
bored
ruined it
by
for
it.
you.
What?
By
Why?
the way,
What
apparently
is it with all these remakes?
the new
We had a
Fantastic Four movie is going to be a horror movie, apparently.
What?
It's a horror movie.
Yeah, it's going to have Cronenberg as its influences. Might be shite, but at least it seems to be trying something.
I mean, I feel like we just... Oh, okay, it's been a few years, but we had Fantastic Four not so long ago. Why do we need to see it again?
Well, because Fox is reestablishing their comic book franchises again, now that they're actually...
Patmus is going to hate me from saying this, but penis, that's why. It's a pissing contest. It's Fox.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Fox having a
I've just decided I've got my new career sussed. I'm going to chain smoke cigars, I'm going to grate them and put them on my breakfast, then I'm going to get a gruff voice like the bloke in this trailer and just do superhero trailer commercials. Coming
The power.
somewhere.
The passion.
I miss Don LaFontaine, man. Rest in peace. You really like I said, going back to my issue with trailers, you can tell trailers haven't been the same since he passed away.
Yeah.
Trailers are ultimately being ruined by Michael Bay, to be honest. I think everyone's following his fucking fold with trailers. Lens flare.
But yeah, what were you going to say, Anina, before we move on to the next story?
No, I'm just like, fair enough, they want to make a whole load of these comic book films. Fair enough, but I'd like to see some new characters. Do you know what I mean? We've seen Fantastic Four. How about some lesser known characters, like we did with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
I was not into seeing that film. I was dragged to see that film, and I loved it.
A Gwen Stacy movie, or a Venom movie, or
exactly
a movie with the Sinister Six in for no particular reason, Sony.
I could watch a Bullseye movie.
And anything new would be nice instead of the same old characters.
Well, unfortunately, we're probably not going to see a Bullseye movie because the Daredevil property is now on Netflix, which I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's more Netflix than anything else. But yeah, that was another trailer that hit. Not interested. Sorry.
I want a new Swamp Thing movie.
Oh, that's DC though. DC owns the rights to that. I don't know if they would ever.
I'm just saying, I would like to see a new Swamp. I think that would be marketable.
Wasn't Swamp Thing like this B movie with naked women in it?
It was Wes Craven. Wes Craven did that movie.
Yeah, I like that.
I used to watch the. Wasn't there a cartoon of Swamp Thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved. I was into that as a kid. As a kid, I was into that.
Yeah, that was back when you could get away with making a cartoon based on an R-rated property. Can't do that anymore. But yeah, going back to R-rated films, let's talk about this bit of news that actually hit today. It's been confirmed. Neil Blomkamp will be doing a reboot of the Aliens franchise. He recently mentioned it, I believe, on his. Yes, it was on his Twitter about 2 hours ago. He posted a picture of an alien and said, So I think it's officially my next film, #Alien. Now, there have been talks about this on and off for the past few weeks now. He posted pictures about 2 months ago of concept art featuring Sigourney Weaver in some type of like alien like headdress type thing, and some architecture of some concept art he's been doing. I guess behind the scenes he's been in talks with Fox, and it looks like it's official. He's going to be doing the reboot of the Aliens franchise.
Didn't he have the sketches? He was the one who did all the sketches for a proposed Alien sequel with Ripley in it.
Yes, in fact, that's what I was referring to. The sketches that he put on his Twitter page 2 months ago.
I just don't understand what the premise of the whole alien suit that she's wearing.
I don't, but here's the thing. I like Neil Blomkamp. I think he is one of those directors that really does have a vision. He has a style.
Has an art style, yeah.
I haven't seen a. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
I was gonna say
I agree with you.
I've only seen bits of Elysium, but that's one of those directors that you can tell he really just needed the right franchise to sink his teeth into. That's why it still upsets me to this day that he didn't get a chance to do the Halo movie, which he was signed on to at one point. This guy, I said it before when we did our Aliens retrospective, I don't know who you could get if they ever did, or even how you could pull it off. Blomkamp, though, based on the sketches he's put out, seems to have a sense of what he wants to do. And you know what? I'm excited for it. I actually
I'll tell
really
you what they could get.
I
am excited for this because I want an Aliens movie that's going to be a standalone Aliens movie, going to be R-rated, not going to be tied into some other franchise. You know, and a return to form, if that makes sense.
Agreement with Dave on that one.
But at the same time, think about Hive Mind. This is just me. Think about Hive Mind, sheer volumes of enemies and stuff. I think they should give the job to Romero.
I think Blue
Romero's
doing an amazing job.
Yeah. And here's a bit of an idea, because there's a way he can actually do kind of a continuation of the Aliens franchise without hurting without ruining the real story of it.
Just set it in the same franchise, or canon universe, but set it on another planet from a different society's perspective or something.
Here's how you do it. The original script, one of the original scripts of Alien 3, before it snowballed into what it was going to be that not Alien 3, Alien Resurrection. One of the ideas they had for Alien Resurrection before they went into the direction they did was...
Well, she gave birth to Alf at the end. Oh.
One of the ideas they had going for that was that the events of Alien 3 were actually a dream. Because if you remember the end of Aliens, there's a line that Newt says where she asks, will I dream while I'm sleeping? That was the original premise for Alien Resurrection, was that it was going to knock out the canon of Alien 3 and it was going to be set right after the events of Aliens. You could still do that. You can have a situation where, Ripley wakes up and it's been like several decades, which will explain the aging, and she's now just waking up in this new universe, and it knocks out 2 and 3 as dreams.
Because even in cryo sleep, if you're asleep in cryo sleep for fucking 1,000 years, you'll get old.
Do you really want to do a Dallas and do that?
Considering how bad 3 and 4 were, yes.
Have you seen the 3 studio cut?
They were intolerable, but they weren't that bad.
Well, number 3, I thought the creature that's that half human, half alien hybrid, that's terrifying, and I liked it for that, because that was honestly terrifying.
Yeah, I agree with you. Imagine giving birth to that, Anina. Ooh.
Just kill me.
Kill me
now.
Hated you your job. Get on that.
Yeah, but like I said, if you're going to reboot if you're gonna do something involving Sigourney Weaver, which it sounds like Blomkamp wants to do, it sounds like he has the idea for it. I don't want to see a reboot that has her involved. I would just rather see a continuation, and that's probably the best way you can do it, is going off from there. That's a jumping off point that I think could work, and I think Blomkamp could really... It allows them for a clean slate, and I think the Aliens franchise needs that, but at the same time, I think it would respect the franchise if they continued on from there, because I know a lot of people who are Aliens...
tarnished by the Aliens and Predator movies, to be perfectly honest. I think if they didn't exist, it would not have half the stigma attached to where Alien stands right now as it does because of those 2 movies.
And by the way, speaking of ties to the franchise, unfortunately this does not this does not affect the production of Prometheus 2. Apparently, Ridley Scott is still doing that, so that's still on the docket. So even with Blomkamp doing this reboot, we still have Prometheus 2 to look after, which I'd rather not talk about because I have no.
I'd rather not see. I want to live in a parallel universe where Prometheus never happened.
You know what, I don't mind Prometheus. I think I'm one of the only people who felt that it was a good jump-off point.
It was a disappointment to me.
on Prometheus. I was on board until the very last line. I hated the last line.
Oh, is it the? I know which one you're talking about. Is it the one where she goes? Where Fassbender asks her, even after all of this horrible thing, you still keep your faith, and then she goes, "Yes, because that's what I choose to believe." Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and I'm like, you nearly just died. I'm sorry, you would be shivering in a corner, rocking yourself. You won't be. No, I think she says something like she hints that she's gonna go after it and find it, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
Are you insane? I don't believe that.
Pay attention to any of the shit that just happened.
Did you not see the thing you cut out of yourself? Did you not see that? Did you not remember you just nearly died? I didn't believe it. I liked the film until I think the last bit ruined it. Because my
problem with the movie was the way they marketed it. Which was, this is not an Aliens or Alien movie. This has nothing to do with that. P.S. We're marketing this heavily on the fact that it's an Alien movie.
Well, it was an Aliens film, but do you know what I mean? I was like, I thought it was really scary, and that scene where she's in that pod getting the thing out of her was a fantastic scene. It's really tense. He does horror well. He does horror really well. And I was enjoying it, and then that last line I went, well, now I don't believe that character at all. I believed it up until she said that, because she would be traumatized in a corner crying. I don't care how strong of a person you are.
Staples across her fucking gut at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I took from that scene the most, though? And it's a brilliant, it's the best. There's two scenes in that movie that I absolutely adore. That scene, just because and I don't mean this in a horrible way, like I'm a weirdo, but just the creepy, like you said, the creepy level of tension in that scene is unbearable. And the other bit and the other bit that's kind of just makes you shiver for a good, good direction of a scene, apart from the fact that he was stupid to go after something he'd never met before in his life, having never even seen aliens before, was the bit when the little snaky thing breaks his suit, goes in it, and goes down his mouth. That made me shiver. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, the penis.
Yeah, it was definitely a dick. I've said it before when we did our Aliens retrospective. My biggest problem with that movie was I didn't think it had any character development. Supposedly that's because Scott basically cut out most of the character development in the deleted scenes, and to me it just seems like the movie ended so abruptly and really had nowhere. It did nothing. It was a movie that answered no questions.
It's one of those movies when you're looking at the timer at the bottom of your DVD player and going, I know we've only got 5 minutes left, but where are we going? Because we're at a point where there should be a lot more coming now.
Yeah, there was no ending to that movie. It just kind of was. But like I said,
can I just throw a quick nod back to Alien 3, by the way, which is, if you've got the Blu-ray version, you get what's called, it's not a director's cut, but you get what's called the working edit.
The assembly cut.
That's it, yeah. And that makes a massive difference.
Yeah, that's basically what they did, is they took Finch's work print and basically just put it out there. So
that's the god-awful stories of, a man who was just basically fighting with the studio, not just through pre-production, but all the way through actually shooting. That was just one slog in him in the studio.
I like I said, I've said this comment before, but there's an alternate universe out there where Alien 3 wasn't David Fincher's first film, and we could say his first film was Seven. It's like, oh wow, that guy's just hit it out the park the entire time. Seven and Fight Club and Benjamin Button. It's like, but in this universe, you have to be like, oh, he also did Alien 3. Well, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Like Benjamin Button, but.
I mean, like I said, Fincher has never made a bad movie, in my opinion, except for Alien 3. But that wasn't his fault. I've said it before. But yeah, I just wanted
Watch
to
the
talk
assembly.
about
Like I
that.
said, what you just mentioned. People out there, watch the assembly cut. Don't watch the original Alien 3. Watch the assembly cut, and it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the train wreck that is the studio version of Alien 3. You'll
Speaking of
hate it
train
less.
wrecks, that brings us to our co-main event of tonight's news episode. Let's talk about the all-female Ghostbusters reboot.
Right.
Yes.
I want to point this out first, though. Right. I don't have a problem that it's all female. That's not my problem.
Me either.
It's if you
Me
disrespect the fucking medium and you insult us by saying, well, we're not going to acknowledge any of the previous Ghostbuster movies or do anything with the original cast. We just want to recast Bill Murray as a main villain.
No. You're going too far. You're going too far. Let's first start off with the main bit of news because we haven't had a chance to talk about the actual casting.
Yeah, okay.
Let's talk about that first. Let me pull up my link because I literally just... Where is it? Okay. All right. The cast has been set, and it's mostly Saturday Night Live regulars. You've got Kristen Wiig, who is an alum of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
You've got Leslie Jones, who is playing a character. Kate McKinnon has been a cast. Yeah. And the one that most people aren't shocked about, which is Melissa McCarthy.
Couldn't you argue that is the one throwback? You know, compared to the original movies with people like Bill Murray, at least with them going through the SNL route, there's a little nod to, you know.
That is true, and like I said, and I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Between this cast and Paul Feig directing, I'm sure the movie's not going to be bad on a quality level. These are all very talented actresses. They've done the whole what's it called, improv comedy thing. They know how to work in front of a camera, and they've worked with each other. So I've got no doubt that that's going to show up on the screen, and whatever good writing is in the script is going to show up on there. And even then, even if there's not that much good writing, these characters have the potential, in my eyes, to really make something good. So if it was any other franchise, I would be excited for this movie because I don't think on paper it looks bad. These are good actresses.
It's not terrible. It's just not, and I agree with Byrne and what you said as well. Which is not, I'm not a chauvinistic prick. I don't have a problem with Ghostbusters being all female. I just have a problem with them not making Ghostbusters as it was because it's so well established, loved and adored by the fans. Make another movie, like you said, make another movie, but don't slap Ghostbusters on it because that's it's not.
Problem. It's not a Ghostbusters movie. You can't call it a Ghostbusters movie. If you want to call it a reboot, then you're going to need at least a semblance of the original cast. You're disrespecting Dan Aykroyd by doing this. You're disrespecting the original cast by doing this. I don't care it's an all-female cast, but you need at least
what was Harold Ramis? Does anyone know what Harold Ramis' thoughts were on this before he passed away?
No, they were originally going to be a normal Ghostbusters movie. Ramis was co-writing the script with Aykroyd. They had a finished script, and it was going to go into development.
As soon as Ramis died, they basically put the green light on this reboot. They were waiting for him to just not have the franchise.
That's an insult to him, yeah. Oh, he's gone, people.
Yeah, basically.
What we want. That's terrible.
Yeah, for years, Ramis wanted to do a proper sequel. I mean, I remember reading up reports that they were going to try to get the original cast back together, including Bill Murray. And
I remember the original report was, and this is pre-Ghostbusters on the Xbox, which to me will always be what I consider the third movie.
And I agree.
It's a brilliant game. Was they were going to get the cast back together. Yeah. They were going to be like aged and retired and have to come back. And the main villain was going to be the ghost of Bill Murray.
Yeah,
That's
I had heard that.
One I read.
Yeah, I'd heard that rumor for years now that he was signed on as a ghost. I think Sigourney Weaver had actually spilled the beans on that in an interview back in the mid-2000s.
Well, what I heard was he said, I'm not interested in coming back for a Ghostbusters movie. And then he said, really? And he said it as a joke, but then the idea grew on him, which was, unless I'm the ghost. And my brain hated that reasoning because I love Bill Murray, but then I just thought, take Bill Murray's sarcasm and his brilliant personality and make him the bad guy and a ghost, then it's just going to be comedy gold.
The thing is,
I had no problem with that.
He kept saying, first he was saying that it was that he basically wanted to make sure that apparently the guy who played Winston wasn't signed on yet. He's like, they've got to give
Ernie Hudson.
They've got to make him equal to everyone else. If they don't make him equal to everyone else, then they're not going to bother. Then they went, okay, I'm not going to sign on unless the script's right. Then he changed his mind again. And he kept going back and forth, kind of dick teasing the rest of them. And I love Bill Murray. He's one of my favourite actors, and I consider him like...
my favourite Bill Murray movie is Rushmore, just saying.
Well, he's one of those actors that I look up to a lot. You know, I did my Bill Murray retrospective. I want to do a part 2 on that because it was received so well. And he's, in my opinion, one of the most amazing character actors that you can... He constantly reinvents himself. But he was dick teasing. He was cock teasing this really hard.
Do you know he's a professional grade? His handicap in golf is that of professionals, by the way.
Yeah.
But he's awesome when you watch him play golf because he does it in Bermuda shorts with a short t-shirt and his gut hangs out. Classy.
But he never took the project seriously. And in terms of Ramis, when Ramis passed on, it was just another excuse for him to say, fuck it. You know, I don't mind the fact they're doing this. What really
he has reprised the role twice, though, if you stop to think about it. No, I know it's kind of pseudo-reprised it. He reprised it in Zombie Land, which he's brilliant in that movie, and also because Zombie Land won an award. Don't you remember what was the awards show that he turned up
himself
as Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters costume? I think it was the same year that they actually had the cast of Back to the Future.
Yeah, he goes, it's the only thing that I had that was clean.
I
remember that. But he's I don't believe he wanted to do it. You know, I think with him it was kind of like a mood swing. You know, yeah, no. In terms of Murray, I would say that my only issue is I think now that they're going to try, because one of the other things, as you said, now they've got the female cast, they're looking at casting 2 individuals as cast members for this movie. One of them is a gentleman that everyone knows from X-Men Days of Future Past and Game of Thrones by the name of...
Peter Dinklage.
Which
I'm perfectly fine with.
I'm not, because I don't think he will do well in this movie. I think this movie is going to be a stinker. I think he should really not attach himself to it. I think he's actually gained a lot more credibility. You know?
I don't know. I think he could play a good character. It depends on what he's playing. Supposedly he's playing like a mad scientist. That's really a character actor role. Yeah. He's not going to be wearing his character hat, his theatrical hat, with doing this. He's going to play a goofy character that's probably going to turn into a ghost or some type of monster anyway because it's Peter Dinklage. I'm fine with that. I don't think it's going to ruin him. I think, he knows that...
being fine and lovable like Electro or something in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then ooh, whoops, accident, look at me.
Yeah, he knows he's got, he knows he has an Emmy-winning performance in Game of Thrones in his back pocket, so it's like, whatever, I can afford to get paid some good money to do a Ghostbusters movie, because I know I can make up for it. I'm Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, but the thing is, what bugs me here is I don't think this movie is going to be good. I really don't. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that Feig could not get a stick out of his arse because he's being an arrogant prick with this movie. He's being... I
just have to do a really, really quick side tangent because, as you know, everyone, I have a shit job and I work at Walmart and they've got this stupid radio promotion. Miguel, you can attest to this when you used to work there when they do their stupid fucking radio promotions and some bloke in a bellowing English voice because they've just released Game of Thrones, the complete box set, and it just goes, Game of Thrones, who will win them? And the person next to me, who's as cynical as I am, just went, "Who's going to win the Game of Thrones? You don't win Game of Thrones if you've even seen it as the man. It's horrific. You survive. I wouldn't have called it Game of Thrones. I would have called it Death by Bastard."
Yeah.
That's
that's one bit of casting that we can talk about, and the other one, which we've hinted at, is supposedly Paul Feig wants to cast the William Atherton counterpart for his version with Bill Murray. I don't know if Bill has agreed to it. I'm not sure if he said yes to it yet. If he does, it would be really unfortunate to me because for all the years he's dick teased Ghostbusters 3, to all of a sudden come back now that Ramis is no longer attached to the cast really does bug me. I know that Harold Ramis and Bill Murray had bad blood from working on Groundhog Day. I get that.
Is that where the bad blood came from?
Yeah, apparently, basically Murray was being a complete twat on set with him, and he was very hard to work with, and he kept demeaning every decision that Ramis was making. Even though Ramis was the guy that made a lot of Murray's career, a lot of his earlier successes were due to Ramis.
Stripes.
You know, go from like the National Lampoon's movie, Stripes. You know, Caddyshack. To name a few, Ramis directed Murray in a lot of movies. They have a great working partnership. Murray, I don't know what the reason behind it was acting like a complete prick to him.
Supposedly the reason was because Ramis, there were a lot of issues on that set, mostly from the studios and whatnot, and Ramis was constantly having to change a lot of things, and Murray felt that Ramis was kind of the reason for that, even though a lot of it was the studio, so it just kind of created a thing, and they both clashed heads, you know, and it created this bad blood. I mean, from what I've heard, they didn't even speak to each other until basically Ramis was dead. Like, Bill Murray basically acknowledged Ramis, you know, that was the closest thing he had ever done to acknowledging Harold Ramis, was what he said about his death, you know, and he was cordial about it, but you can tell that they pretty much had bad blood all the way up to the end. But to come back to badmouth Ghostbusters, because yeah, he says he said in interviews he didn't hate the first movie, but as a franchise he was trying to get away from it. So all of a sudden, if he does agree to it, to come back to it because Ramis is gone, I would lose a little bit of respect.
Yeah, that's bad taste.
It's bad taste.
But
can I give my 2 cents on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have to say, I love the fact it's going to be a big female cast. I like that about it. But I do agree, why does it have to be Ghostbusters? I'd love to see a new... Again, what can I say? I love originality. I like new scripts. I like new ideas, especially when you go to the cinema and a lot of films are reboots of things. And to me, that seems a bit lazy.
It's a studio
it's
formula
easy.
nowadays,
it's easier.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's easier to do than take a chance on something new. If this makes, you know, if this comes out and it makes more films with more, you know, more female big casts, great. That's what I will say. Great, because this is rare. That's why it's the thing. They're going to market this through it being Ghostbusters but female, but I think in the long run that's going to be a good thing. It's going to piss off a lot of fans, and I love the Ghostbusters films, and this is, I don't know, I think it'll probably do well, but I don't know what it's going to be like. I can't imagine it in my head, but I will see it. I will see it.
I agree with you to an extent. The reason I don't think it's going to do well, because I think the fact they're not acknowledging any of the existing cast members is a slap in the face. That's true. Yeah. Secondly, if Murray does sign on to this, again, it'll be a big slap in the face, because you've got one of the original actors in your movie not as his character. It's like, come on, you know, and I think Feig's been an arrogant prick with this movie, and he has been. I've read his interviews. Everything he's gone on about, oh, you know, we're just going to distance it from the other movies. I'm like, then why call it fucking Ghostbusters? You can call it anything else. Yeah. You know, call it whatever you like.
The busting of Dave's childhood.
Exactly. They could call it that. It's just, and I'm not going to be one of those guys who went, oh, it's raped my childhood. I'm sitting there logically.
I am.
It makes sense. If you want to basically make a Ghostbusters movie, then give that tribute to Ghostbusters by at least, you know what? Fuck it, you know, Aykroyd wants to be in this movie. Aykroyd wants to be a part of this. Let him be a part of it. Have Ray as the fucking backup character, as the guy mentoring these girls. It would make sense, him bringing together a new Ghostbusters team. Have him acknowledge the fact that the team split up and went their separate ways. Or even freaking acknowledge the fact that, you know, Ramis died, and have Egon's funeral. You don't need to go this route and basically go meh to the old guys, because that's what you're doing. By doing this, you're going meh to the others. And Feig, you arrogant prick, think about it. If Sony execs haven't gotten in your head and explained this to you, I think you need to put your fucking own ego aside and understand that this would be the only way you're going to get this movie over, because the problem is people are going to shit all over this movie unless you've got one of the original Busters, not named Winston, in there basically like approving this. And no offense to Winston there, he wasn't seen as a proper Ghostbuster until probably the third game.
You know what? Here's my big problem with the fan acknowledgement, and one of the problems that I have with the reactions to this is I hate the fact that so many people are kind of shunning the reaction from the fans, from the Ghostbusters fans.
I agree.
Because of the fact that it's an all-female cast. They really are riding on this new wave of geek feminism, and that really upsets me because I do think it's a valid point. None of us are saying that the cast being female is the problem. It's the fact that this movie is a Ghostbusters movie that seems to be going out of its way to completely distance itself from the source material.
Exactly.
And look, I get that. Look, I get it. You're not targeting the fans. You're targeting everybody else.
It's using the source material to make it a bankable commodity, but at the same time, that's all it's doing. It's using it in name.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's successful, but it's not using it as a homage or anything that it's paying any kind of tribute to the fans. And I know people say, like, well, you're just the audience, you don't deserve anything. No, bollocks. We're the people who made this movie. This is, and I know it's a cliche, it's our childhood. If you want to do this, fine. But you don't do it this route because it's an insult. I know that sounds like a bold statement.
Doing a Silent Hill movie without Harry Mason. And you know how people got in an uproar about that. And saying, well, we're going to put this female character in his role. And it's like, no. Acknowledge. Acknowledge the pre-existing material. I'm not saying it's like that in any way, shape, or form, but it's like with Ghostbusters, you have to acknowledge the fact that this existed. If you're going to do it, even if you're doing a reboot, you've got to acknowledge the fact that these guys were there. You can't do that.
It's
Starsky
basically ignoring.
Yeah.
It's ignoring people's childhoods.
Yeah, Starsky and Hutch, even though it was a parody, was Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, I like that movie.
When you had the Equalizer, even if the film was different and had a different casting of the character because they decided to cast outside of type, it was still the Equalizer. You do a movie that's a Ghostbusters movie, and you do not acknowledge the previous incarnation of that, then you are not only slapping the freaking audience in the face, you're pissing them off. And the thing is, again, no issue with the all-female cast, but you could have at least have even fucking Janine, even if you had Janine in it, just to show this is who we were, this is who we are now. We're passing the baton to the new cast of characters. That way, your fan base is appeased. They're not pissed off. By ignoring them, you're going to make things a lot worse, and you're going to give these people some unintentional heat that you think, oh, it's because they're female. No, it's because they are not acknowledged as being the previous incarnation of this cast. You have to do it, and do it with some sense. If you don't, then what kind of story are you trying to tell? Are you trying to do it just so you can create an uproar?
Burhan, they're not trying to tell a story. Well, okay, go ahead, Anina, first, and then I'll get on my soapbox. Go ahead, Anina.
Yeah, I think they are, like you said, they're not thinking of us who grew up with it. I think they're thinking of the new generation of viewers who probably haven't seen Ghostbusters, and they're probably thinking about that. They're thinking, oh, well, we'll make the new Ghostbusters for their time. Which, again, us, slightly older people, will be upset about it. But I think that's probably...
Speak for yourself. I'm going to live forever.
So. Yeah, because apparently his name is Dave Lestat.
Yeah, Dave Lestat. Yeah, you're virtually a baby in vampire years. But anyway, I think that's probably what they're doing. They don't care. They care about the new generation, and they're aiming.
And I get that
for them. Which again,
I get that.
I'm not for or against.
But the thing is, even with though, Anina, with the new generation, even with the millennials, they still have the Extreme Ghostbusters. They still have the semblance of who
they
the
still
original
tied in. It's
Ghostbusters
canon,
were.
technically.
They have the Ghostbusters game on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation. They still have a semblance of the original cast. You know.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I just know. Are you guys going to watch this film? Because I will.
I won't be in the cinema. I'll kind of be. The thing is, I think.
I'll wait for me to buy it on DVD and borrow
this
it.
film's an arrogant project made by Feig, and again, it's not. And Pat says, frankly, even if it was 100% the original cast, they're so many years removed from the height, it would still be super thrilled. And truthfully, you might be saying it, but some people are. But nevertheless, were it a spin-off with a different title, it would have not had such an uproar. But the uproar creates publicity, and I agree with you, Patimus. That's one of the reasons they're probably doing this. But at the same level, I just really, really think that they could at least pay homage and give it some respect by removing it outright.
I do agree with that completely.
Yeah, you're not respecting it at all, and all you need to do is pay someone a cameo. Do you know what I mean? Even have them for like 5 or 10 minutes in the movie. Give the original cast a kind of a goodbye, you know, a passing of the torch, and just to give them a chance to let the new cast succeed. Because once you know, if you have Peter Venkman giving them the AOK, or Ray Stantz giving them the AOK, Winston or Janine giving them the AOK,
connection, basically.
There's a connection, exactly, and it really is one of the biggest things that bugs me. And I don't give a crap about gender. For me, I wouldn't care if the whole female, if the cast of Ghostbusters were chimps, right? As long
watch that.
As long as there was some acknowledgement, right? As long as there was some acknowledgement made.
Does that mean they'd all beat Zool by flinging their feces at the same time? So.
Yeah.
As long as there was some acknowledgement, and that's what you need. And the problem is, I think Feig is allowing his ego to getting away of something that would be more successful if they backed the project with, you know, as I said, Aykroyd. He's willing to come back. He doesn't want to leave the project behind. It's his baby. He owns the rights to this. You know, him with Sony, he'll get a cut of this regardless. So use him. You know, you might as well.
What's going to be weird is seeing all we're all used to the 80s special effects.
Yeah,
we're going to have that, but it's going to be all shiny and new, and that's going to be very weird for me to watch, I think.
Well, then again, they did
do special effects quite well in the new Star Trek. They sort of upgraded them to a level that didn't seem too...
But again, who did we have?
That was toned down, wasn't it?
Who did we have in the movie?
Yeah, true. That was a great cameo. Fantastic
Leonard
cameo.
Nimoy. He's there. He basically...
Yeah, it was an alternate universe at this point, but he made a point of explaining why it was an alternate universe.
He passed the baton over, and J.J. Abrams did such an excellent job allowing them to say, we acknowledge the previous universe, but this is an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Feig hasn't done that. Feig has just went, fuck the other films, I want to do this. And arrogance.
I wonder what Slimer's going to look like. That's either going to be really good or really awful. Yeah, what is he going to look like?
Because he's an iconic character. He's probably going to be the only thing we get is close to a baton passover character. And they're probably going to fucking make it... Oh, they're probably going to give him a
you know what Slimer's going to be? He's going to be like the owl reference in Clash of the Titans, where they just kind of have him in there for just a second, and then they'll be like, this is stupid.
He's on the kid's t-shirt as he walks by in the background or something.
Oh, he has to be in there.
But that's one of the many problems that Clash of the Titans had, and then they did the sequel, and that did even worse. And they were just like,
I quite like those movies from a guilty pleasure.
Well, yeah, I do too. Well, the Wrath of the Titans more than Clash, but I'm going to say this in terms of why I think it's ridiculous that this is being called a Ghostbusters film is I get what Hollywood's trying to do. They are not trying to get us to watch it because they are thinking that we're fans. No. They're thinking we're fans of the franchise, so we're going to watch it regardless. It's the same thinking that wrestling fans have, and Burhan knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. The idea of fans of something will always support it, even if they hate it, because they're fans. Fine, I get that. I get that that's the Hollywood mindset. And I get that they are banking on the name recognition to get in non-fans. I get that. Here's my problem. I'm going to name 2 examples of this that backfired. First one, RoboCop. RoboCop bombed at the box office because they did the exact same thing.
And
they
was
changed...
terrible. The movie itself was terrible. Bad use of Michael Keaton. Bad.
Yeah, it was not a very good movie, and it took a lot of liberties with the original source material that upset fans, and it bombed, at least in the States. It made its money back in total, but that was because it got a much better release overseas for some reason. I can't explain it. And the other one is The Thing. The Thing, no one that was a fan of... Okay, except for Dave. No one, except for Dave, liked that movie as being a fan of...
That should be on the box. No one except for Dave liked this movie. Miguel.
Yeah. No one except for Dave liked The Thing remake, and it bombed in the theaters because of that. I had to check Box Office Mojo just to make sure. My point is that... The prequel. Yeah, prequel. My thing is, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They are throwing away the fans at the same time using the name recognition from the fans to sell this movie. And if history has taught me anything, is one of 2 things are going to happen. Either this movie's... Well, one thing is going to happen that I'll say about this is, as angry as I can be about this movie, my biggest hope with this is that it just becomes a blip in time. That it's a thing that happens and we all forget about it. Like the RoboCop remake, like the Thing prequel, like the Conan remake that they had a couple years ago. This is just going to be a blip in time. People are going to forget about this. At best, it'll make its money back, and then no one will talk about it. It'll just be kind of a thing that happened. People will still talk about the first 2 movies and the game and the cartoons, and this will just be a thing that just does not happen.
It'll be released in a special edition box set at some point to say, "Oh, that was a thing."
Yeah, this will just be a thing in history that happens. And you know what? I hate that I have to say that because, like I said, this movie's being kind of, it's being jerry-rigged onto the whole geek feminism thing. And look, I've said it before. If this were any other franchise, I would be totally fine with this movie. But like I said, the fact that it's Ghostbusters... I
always hope there is a backlash, that Hollywood sits up and pays attention and kind of realize, possibly we don't know best.
No, but the thing is, they're not going to do that because they've bombed with so many of these things that they're still sitting there going, "Oh, it's fine.
We know better than anyone."
This movie. The fact that this movie is being made is a prime example of just studio. This is basically just the studio's their greed. This is a studio project, and you know what? I hate to have to say that again, and the fact that I have to keep saying that, apologizing, really upsets me. But I know, when it comes to geek stuff, we have to be a little sensitive about that. So I'm going to say this. I don't like a lot of the decisions, but it's not because of the fact that I'm a guy. It's just I'm a fan. And you know what? I don't care if you want to shun me away for being a fan, I'm still going to have an issue with it. I'm going to, people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't be butthurt." Well, yeah, I'm going to be butthurt because they hurt my butt, okay?
No, it's true. It's basically...
I want that on the cover when it comes out on DVD.
Yeah. They've basically... What they've done is they've pissed off the fan base, and again, I've posted the image of the all-female cast. I've had certain people say very nasty things, and I've pointed them out, and I've pointed my finger at them and said, don't have a go at this person because she's female. The gender it's nothing. It's
wasn't there an incident on Facebook a couple of days ago where one of our good friends of the show actually was harped on for saying that he didn't like the female cast? I think it was Brian Justice, I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic, given that they called him, said he was being, anti-feminist. It's like, really?
Yeah, but by the way, he's transgender, just so you know.
Yeah.
So, that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, this jumping on your anti-female just because you don't like a casting of something really does upset me, as someone who is a feminist. That upsets me. Really does. Because
it's the same thing, but... Oh, sorry.
It's not the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Just because you don't like the fact that this has... Just because you don't like the casting of a thing, as long as you're not against no females in anything, that's when it's an issue. If you go around saying, "Oh, I don't want any leading females in things," that's when it's an issue. If you just say, "Don't like the fact they cast a woman in this particular thing," I don't see that as an issue. That's your opinion. That's it. And
do you remember I think we were on that whole sort of feminist versus gamers versus pop culture kind of thing that's kind of killing.
And it's really sad because I feel it's being misused.
Yeah, it's becoming an excuse more than anything else now. It's like, oh, you don't like an all-female cast? Well, you're a fucking male chauvinist pig. And it's like, no, it's
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. As I said, my issue is just the whole Murray casting and the whole not acknowledging the previous movies. And as I think it's more to do with Feig being an arrogant prick than anything else. And I'm going to say this, and I don't even care if I get to work. My whole goal is to work in Hollywood, and I'm kind of alienating people here. But Feig, I think he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Yes, he's done some good all-female cast movies, but he's working with a license that has a preset fan base already implemented. And the problem is people who are... The audience they're trying to target are people who are not going to know what Ghostbusters is. And that's going to be a complete shocker when these people don't go and see your movie.
No, I was going to draw a comparison, though, which was not The Last Doctor, but... No, I think it was one of Tennant's years when they were talking about whether Tennant would regenerate. And it was that teaser one where he didn't. He gave birth to his half-human version of him. And they were saying, like, or the PC movement came out and said, no, the next Doctor Who should be a woman. And I'm like, I have no problem with that. I'm not a chauvinist, but it's Doctor Who. You can't take a character who's been around for 50 years and say, for the sense of PC correctness, no, it has to be a female. Plus, also,
I would have liked to have seen a woman, because there's actually nothing in the canon saying he can't be.
I'd imagine if you've been a bloke for 900 years and then you're a woman, you might have a few issues.
Yeah, but he's not human. That's the whole point. But so gender isn't a thing.
Well, it's also what they turned the master into the mistress, didn't they? So anything can happen. I ain't got an issue with it, but at the same level, it's.
In that canon, I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Established fan love. It's what I'm trying to say.
But the thing is, they'll still acknowledge the Doctor's story. That's fine.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah,
there's still pretext there. There's still a storyline that they can follow. Even if they fuck up down the line, it's still there. They can recover. With this, there isn't. He's like, I'm going to start from new, and I'm not going to acknowledge those guys because that's what they've done, and this is what I'm going to do. It's like, no.
In that voice.
No, but it really, that's what pisses me off, because it's like, it's the same thing when Bryan Singer decided to do Superman and went, look at me, I'm an awesome director, let's do an artsy Superman movie, and everyone just went, fuck off. Right?
Art house Superman.
Yeah, you're letting your ego get in the way of what's right. What's right is you respect your fan base. What's right is you basically get it in there and say, this is why I'm making these changes, but I'm going to have Dan Aykroyd in there to lead this team and say, okay, I'm working behind the scenes and I'm going to help you guys become Ghostbusters, because how are these guys going to learn how to be Ghostbusters or learn about the technology and shit if they don't have this guy in there? You know? It makes sense. Aykroyd would be an awesome cast member to have. He loves the franchise, he respects it, and he can also help you tweak the script so it sounds like a Ghostbusters movie. By doing this, you are really just being an arrogant, conceited prick who sits there and says, I can do what I want because I don't care if someone else made it. I know what I'm doing because I made films that made money. Doesn't mean you know what you're doing. It means you got lucky.
It's basically saying they may establish the franchise, but they were wrong.
That's literally what he's doing. And this is like, just because you grossed a lot of money doesn't mean you made a good movie. As again, look at 50 Shades of Grey. It doesn't mean anything. What means something is if you respect your audience and you bring something that has substance. Bridesmaids, I watched Bridesmaids, I watched like the fucking movie. It doesn't have any substance. It's like, okay, you understand the story, I get it, funny jokes with women, but it's not a movie with substance. Ghostbusters always had layers, it had substance, it had characters. You understood the bond that these guys had. You can't recreate that. right? A lot of improv was done using Reitman and the fucking guys who were acting in it. It was a flawed movie, but it got what it got right because it understood the chemistry. Feig sits there and is like, I'm a powerful director. I know what I'm talking about. I can do Ghostbusters and make magic. It's like, no. If you want to do it right. Respect your audience. And really, my respect level for Feig has gone down the fucking toilet just on the fact that he even said those things, and he even thinks that he can make a movie without the original cast. Even a one person. Is your head that fucking swollen that you don't understand that you're going to need at least one of the cast members to make this work? But yeah. And yes, and I agree with Miguel. Murray is a hypocrite if he signs on.
Yeah, I'll say this to kind of end. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have cared if it hadn't been for the Murray announcement. If he does sign, it's going to really upset me. But like I said, my biggest hope is that this just becomes a thing in history. In a couple years, we won't be talking about it. We'll be talking about how great the original 2 movies were, and not even bother to mention
and how
it.
And that's really is acting up.
Yeah, and that really is upsetting because, like I said, I want to.
They could have recast that with Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen a movie, something that was akin to Ghostbusters starring these women, but not Ghostbusters. And that we're going to end it at that because we're just kind of talking in circles. So let's go to our main event. This is the big news that really propelled me to want to do a news episode tonight, and it's a big one. Spider-Man will be returning to the Marvel Studios cinematic universe, making his debut with the cinematic universe. Sony has finally reached the deal that we've been talking about for months now. Well, seems like years because we're constantly talking about them.
Yeah.
To bring Spider-Man to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, here are the bits of the contract that have been revealed so far. Under the deal, the new Spider-Man will first appear in a Marvel film from Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, some people are saying that it's more than likely going to be Captain America 3 Civil War. That would probably make sense considering Spider-Man's involvement in the Civil War.
Yeah.
He was. So I would not doubt that if that's the case. Sony Pictures will thereafter release the next installment of the Spider-Man franchise, dated for July 28th, 2017, in a film that will be co-produced by Kevin Feige and his team at Marvel and Amy Pascal. Marvel and Sony and just to also say, the old Avi Arad, who's been the producer of all the Spider-Man films, he's pretty much getting a co-producer role, and from what I've heard, he ain't doing much in that role anyway. He's just getting basically name value and name on his on there, which, whatever. I mean, you had the chance with Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I might be the only
Marvel
person who doesn't hate 2, by the way. I know I've said it before, but I might be the only person who doesn't hate Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I could tell you a million things wrong with that, Dave.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, you tell me, and I'll go for a slash.
Cool.
All right.
Actually, I have to go for a slash.
Marvel and Sony Pictures are also, quote, exploring opportunities to integrate characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into the future Spider-Man films, and Sony Pictures will continue to finance, distribute, own, and have final creative control over the Spider-Man films. Now, Burhan, I'm gonna say what this reminds me of, and I think when I make this point, you're probably gonna get where I'm coming from with this.
Mm-hmm.
This announcement of the Spider-Man basically returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Amazing Spider-Man 2 and all the news that's been going on with Spider-Man recently. This reminds me exactly, in terms of the fan reaction, of when Hogan came back to WWE after his run in TNA. It's exactly like that because up until the announcement, everybody was just slashing on Spider-Man. It was like, oh, Spider-Man, oh, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I can't believe they're making a Sinister Six movie and a Venom movie. And we talked about that rumor about the Aunt May movie a couple months back. And then all of a sudden, the cinematic universe, Spider-Man gets brought back. And now those same fans, including myself, I'll admit, are now like, oh, wow, Spider-Man. Oh, we're going to get a new Spider-Man movie. I can't believe it. It's going to be awesome.
I'm not.
It very much sounds reminiscent of that.
My problem is this. If I see another Spider-Man origin movie, I'm going to punch someone in the face.
That, to me, from what I've read, is kind of not going to be the case. It sounds like they're going to introduce him in Civil War, and then from there they're just going to dovetail him from that, which I think is probably the best case scenario.
Yeah,
like you said, we've seen enough of the Spider-Man origin story.
Yeah, I think if they want to do an origin story, they can highlight it, like they did in Batman, which I think is the kind of the pillar of origin movies. Allow him to continue, make him just as when he's in the Civil War movie, he's just an established character.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the new Spidey kind of bounce off of Tony Stark. I want to see that.
Well, that's the whole premise. Yeah, he needs to, but that's the whole premise where Civil War came from, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And apparently he's going to be younger, which is a shame. So he's not going to be an established adult at this time. My whole issue in terms of this is a lot of people are trying to get them to do the current Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales in this. And I don't think that should happen. I think it needs to be Peter Parker. And no, I don't want a black Peter Parker. Please, can we stop doing that? There's when it serves a purpose, when it's like if it's James Bond, I don't mind, because Bond is a character that's not identified by his gender or his.
Well, it worked perfectly with Nick Fury, didn't it?
Yeah, same thing with Nick Fury. But when you're doing someone like Peter Parker and like, oh, Peter Parker can be black or Spanish or Greek, no, he can't. He's Peter Parker, not Pedro Morales.
Pedro Morales is
I know he's a wrestler. I know you get the wrestler.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It's something that you don't want to. That you shouldn't touch lightly on. What I will say is, whomever takes up the role has to be someone that's prepared to do it for life. Because I know. Apparently Andrew Garfield was getting sick of this shit and kind of.
Which is a shame because I thought he was a good Spider-Man. He
was a good Spider-Man, but in the wrong movies.
Yeah, he to me was very much Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man.
Yeah, he would have done a lot better in the Sam Raimi universe, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Amazing Spider-Man movies were rushed.
Tobey Maguire was crap.
Terrible. In the fact that there was too much going on, but. I think what Marvel needs to do is to look at the Amazing Spider-Man movies, look at the Raimi movies, and sit there and go, right, we need to do something that's in the middle. You know, we need to establish the character, but not
sense of humor,
him.
but also a serious level of threat at the same time, not comedic farce. We need to reintroduce him
so that people know who Spider-Man is, because if you haven't been living underneath a rock for the past, century, you'll know who Spider-Man is.
Great superhero in the world, just saying.
And you've got to allow him. You've got to humanize him. That's one thing that I think that the other movies that Mark Webb's movies did very well, and that Raimi's movies didn't know how to do, which was humanize the character. Because what Raimi did was like,
although I will throw Raimi a bone for simply putting Bruce Campbell in
in various roles. But do you know what I mean?
Well, to me, Spider-Man has always been one of the really human ones.
Yeah, but the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in the movies
wasn't it? He was the first superhero that was an angst-ridden teenager.
Yeah, exactly. He had that sort of... he was really good at being Spider-Man, but his real life was a bit of a mess, which made him really endearing.
I'm a superpowered person who could do all these wonderful things, yet when I go to high school, I still get bullied.
Exactly.
But, one thing I will say is... I think whoever takes up the mantle is going to be in there for the long haul.
I hope they go the same route though that they've done, which is I don't want some muscle-bound fucking idiot in Lycra. I want kind of like an athletic jogger type build, if you know what I mean. Like they did with Garfield. Garfield, even if he hates it or not, I thought he was perfectly, maybe in the wrong movies written by the wrong person, but he was physically perfectly Spider-Man.
So no beefcakes, no mini Banes.
Beefcake. Sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like like I said, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Let's see. It looks like one of the big bits of news coming out of this is the fact that Marvel has had to push a lot of their movies to the side. For instance, the July 2017 date that the Spider-Man film was set for was actually set for the third Thor movie, but it looks like they're moving that to November 3rd. Same thing with the rest of the docket for
Who would have
the
thought
Spider-Man
that Thor
movies.
would become such a solid franchise? I have to say. I mean, I like both of the movies so far, and they're really, really good, and he's brilliant in Avengers, but you would have thought on paper, at least to me, I'm quite surprised. And I like Thor as a comic book character. You really, you wouldn't have thought that he would become such a strong staple of, popular summer blockbusters. Because you're like, he's a Norse god with a hammer.
Yeah, it looks like everything is being pushed back to previous launch dates. For instance, November 3rd was actually going to be the date for July 28th. November 3rd was going to be the date for Thor. That got moved. July, I mean. That's moved back now to November 3rd, 2017, which was the date release for Black Panther, which is now being pushed to July 6th, 2018, which was the original date for the Captain Marvel movie, which will now be pushed to November. They all shit their
pants because Star Wars may apparently be moved forward.
Yeah, which Captain Marvel is now being pushed to November 2nd, 2018, which was the release date for the Inhumans, which is now being slotted for July 12th, 2019. So it sounds like everything is kind of being pushed back. It's kind of they kind of shot themselves in the foot announcing all these release dates for all their franchises. Now that they're having to kind of push Spider-Man into that role. Like I said, I'm excited for it. I kind of made the whole Hulk Hogan coming back to WWE analogy earlier. I really do feel that the franchise was missing something from Spider-Man, more so than with X-Men, because I know a lot of people want to see Wolverine join up with the Avengers and that whole universe, but the X-Men universe is so big, it really can't stand up on its own. It can do its own thing without having to be tied to the Marvel universe.
I agree with you. I don't want crossovers. I mean, I'd like to see it, but at the same time, it's so, it's been done, apart from 3, cough, it's been so well done, particularly with the last movie, that I almost think that X-Men should just stay within its envelope.
It can go even further. I've said it before. There's so many X-Men teams and so many X-Men characters that haven't been really tapped
that's what
into.
I mean. It doesn't need heroes from outside, not outside universe. It's just Marvel universe. But, it doesn't need Avengers in it. It doesn't need Spider-Man in it. It's just put X Factor in it. Put Generation X. Just it's and do Gambit properly, you wankers. Sorry.
Well, I mean. Yeah, I know you're not happy. You're not happy with Channing Tatum in the role. I get that.
No, I'm not happy with Channing Tatum in the role.
What was that?
Yeah, I'm not happy with Channing Tatum in the role.
I want a proper Frenchman. I want Gerard Depardieu as Gambit.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
I'm not Frenchman. You need Cajun. It's different feel.
And his love interest should be Monica Bellucci from 15 years ago.
I'd be perfectly fine with that too. But yeah, in terms of Spider-Man, I think it's something that needed to happen, because I do agree that as the Avengers were going to continue on, you would need to add more members, and especially with the whole fear of them phasing out certain people like Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah. Apparently, Thor, the reason why they changed her to a female is because they're going to end up phasing Hemsworth.
Sorry,
out.
Nina, I thought you were a contact. I do apologise.
Don't worry. What worries me is that
hold on, Burhan.
What worries me with these films is we're gonna have 20 people on screen at the same time soon, or 30.
Not even.
Don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work with so many people.
Joss Whedon will find a way.
Well, no, Whedon's not a part.
He does.
Yeah, he's not going to.
Whedon's not doing the third one.
I can see it working in a comic book, having all these characters at the same time, but screen, that will be a challenge.
Well, eventually they're going to have to cross over with Guardians of the Galaxy. They've already established that. That's going to happen. And like you said, I think they have set up...
When do we get Howard the Duck?
They have set up background plans. For instance, establishing the character of Falcon, which is a character that's been established in the comic books. If they don't get Chris Evans back, they could at least have him take the role.
Is he talking about not doing it?
Chris Evans, yeah, he said after his deal with Disney runs dry, he may walk away from the character.
I mean, I understand why for being typecast and everything, but he's absolutely the greatest, perfect person, even though there's only been 2 other people, one from the 70s and one from that god-awful early 90s movie, who've done Captain America, but he's so good! It's Captain America and Steve Rogers. He's just, oh no, don't go, Chris, don't go!
Yeah, well, you've got that. You've got them establishing War Machine as Iron Patriot. So if Downey doesn't come in, they could kind of replace him, which is fine. I like Don Cheadle. They've got obviously the female Thor. So
just don't
I
let him
think
play British people because his British accent sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think in terms of new casting, yeah, they've got backup plans, but eventually they were going to need some names to really freshen up that team, and I think Spider-Man's a great addition to there. Obviously, we're going to probably see Black Panther in there and Captain Marvel and all that, but it just feels right. Is basically what I'm trying to say. It feels right to have Spider-Man in that role, in that team, because
not even Channing Tatum's mum's happy with Channing Tatum paying us, so don't worry about that one.
Yeah, like I said,
the greatest superhero of them all, and this is a blatant selfie plug, but the greatest superhero of them all is Rat Boy. Go check out my next Facebook post. You'll understand. Rat Boy will save us all.
I'll have to, but yeah, I mean, it's a loose end that I think is finally going to be tied up somehow. I would love to see Marvel get the rights back fully, but that could be something down the line. But it's something that I think is going to really freshen up the Avengers franchise, because I mean, as big as Avengers 2 is going to be, after that they're risking kind of deflating themselves, and I think this is going to keep them relevant again moving forward.
The thing about Avengers 3 will be, even though it's ironic that I'm going to say this because we don't know what 2 is like, but based on the trailer and the first one, what we know so far, I think from what I know and the tidbits I've seen of Avengers 2 is Avengers 3 is basically going to be that second difficult album, which is how do you top that?
True. Very true.
Well, like I said, they're going to top it by really finalizing a lot of their stuff. Like I said, you're going to see the Guardians of the Galaxy pop in somehow, especially if they do plan on doing the Infinity War storyline.
Yeah, apparently they're going to have a part of that.
That would be epic beans.
I'm actually, honestly, looking back on it, I'm actually shocked that they're going the Civil War route. If you'd have told me 5 years ago that Disney, no less, was going to okay an adaptation of Civil War, I would look at you confused and bewildered, because I'd never thought that they would ever touch the Civil War storyline.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it seems kind of the right edge. Well, I mean, I know obviously Captain America 2, which I love, Winter Soldier is one of my favorite superhero movies ever. Set up that more serious tone, but after that movie, I can totally see them going that route, because it just, I agree with you, Miguel, which a few years ago, you could never do that in a superhero movie, but now I guess Hollywood's become so, established and confident with superhero movies that they can actually say, why does it have to be all, Christmas tree baubles and soul glow and shit? Why can't we go this dark political route? It's almost like they're encroaching upon Watchmen territory, if you know what I mean.
Well, at the end of the day, I think we're going into a great storyline regardless, as long as Marvel know how to tell it. In terms of what's going to happen in the long run and how the Avengers will work, and with the addition of Spider-Man, I think it's going to add more layers to it, because they're going to need, once Iron Man's finished, once Downey, if he decides to leave, is gone, because they'll
never be able to replace him. They can replace Spider-Man, even though I like Garfield, they can replace other people, but there's no way they will get anyone who could fill his shoes. If you had to be the actor cast to follow him, you'd be shitting your pants.
I wouldn't, because I'd be sitting there. If for anyone, I think they'll do a great job, and I think Downey, no matter what happens, even if he finishes doing the movies, he'll still be there to kind of lead the next guy on.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because whoever goes in the shoes after him will always be compared to him.
Yeah, but that's gonna happen. It's the same thing with Batman. Everyone's always compared to the
previous. They might find someone amazing.
Yeah.
Me.
It's been done before. They'll find someone absolutely amazing who's on par with Downey Jr.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens, and in the end,
Will Ferrell. Ferrell.
Don't even. I'm still pissed he's doing Manimal. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's going to be a fucking walk in the park.
Did anyone see the SNL 40th anniversary Celebrity Jeopardy?
Yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious.
I loved it. Horrid.
But yeah,
no, it's who reads, Mr. Connery.
In the end, right? I think it's going to be good. We're going to see how this will work. And this is a positive. At least we're ending the show on a positive note, Miguel.
Yeah, I really do feel as though this is going to be a good thing. It's something that I think, like I said, needed to be done. I'm looking forward to it. I think Disney knows how to do franchises right.
Yeah.
They really haven't did an issue, and I think they understand that. We've had enough of the reboots. You really got to soft launch this guy, and I'm hoping that's what they're doing with Civil War. And the fact, like I said, the fact that seems like they're really going out of their way to adapt Civil War properly. I give them a lot of kudos for that. So that's something to look forward to. And what is
fair play, because they could have gone an easy route and just done some flash bam thing, but no, they're doing something that is going to be controversial, and it's above and beyond fan service, if that makes sense. It's like, they could have done it by half, but they say, no, we're going to have a pop at Civil War. So yeah, I tilt my hat and say kudos to Disney for that.
Well, like I said, it is something worth looking forward to, and what is really worth looking forward to is next week's show.
Yes.
We're going to be continuing our second part of our Batman retrospective, talking about the other Joel Schumacher Batman film, as well as the entire Chris Nolan trilogy and Batman past that, the upcoming Marvel DC Cinematic Universe Batman. So definitely look into that. I also want to announce I've got plans in the way involving the show that I'm going to be doing that may involve YouTube as more in depthly. I don't want to go into that, but it's something I'm looking forward to. For now, you know where you can find us, twitter.com/unmovieshow. Folks out there, if you are associated with the Twitter, and you know somebody that's associated with the Unmovie Show Twitter handle, give us a like, give us a retweet, help us spread the show out there. So twitter.com/unmovieshow. Burhan, what would you like to plug?
You can find the show on, as many as the other shows, on youtube.com/thenerdgenius at the moment, while I'm trying to sort out issues with Warner Music Group, who are trying.
Are they still being bugs up your ass again?
Yeah, who are trying to shut down Burhan and the Boy for some weird reason. We're that awesome. I want to give a big thank you to Patimus, also to Ghastly Tales, Callum from Ghastly Tales, who are on the feed. A big shout out to Travis Goss. You can find him at youtube.com/rose-colored let's plays, and also youtube.com/Travis Goss. He does rose-colored reviews as well. Kind of stop that side. You can also find me a part on dailymotion.com/nerdgenius as part of Maker Studios. More updates on Silent Hill coming, including the fact I'm going to be doing a con coming up in
You're going to be having sex with a criminal?
No, a con. Like a convention.
Sorry, bad joke.
By the way, before you continue real quick, I need to talk to you about con-related stuff after the show, but
cool.
Go ahead.
I'll be announcing the new cast members of Silent Hill Genesis, the pilot that I'm currently working on. Also, I think I found Alessa. But I haven't stated yet who that's going to be. I'm waiting. She's going to do a little bit of a screen test for us first to see if she will work. We're going to be announcing the cast. I'm going to be doing a debate, hopefully, if this goes through, with the audience, talking about why the pilot is needed and why we feel that the prequel will work in terms of it. And I'll also be coming to towns near you. I'm going to be going door to door over through London to help raise funds for this pilot. And also going to be launching the Kickstarter as soon as possible. So stay tuned, guys. It's nearly finalised. I've just got to get things all sorted out. For more information, go to nerdgenius.com, and also if you go to SilentHillReturns.com as well, you'll find me there.
Dave, you got anything you'd like to plug?
Yes, and I will quickly say every Wednesday is my kind of vloggy, apart from gameplays I do on my channel, every Wednesday is my vloggy video, and I always plug your lovely show, Miguel. I always plug your lovely show.
I love you too. I love you too, Dave.
Yeah. All right, well, you owe me a $5 for that, by the way. But
he loves you for a price.
My Wednesday...
That sounds like 50 Shades of Grey. He loves you for a price.
I love you.
Buy me a MacBook Air and I will dodge you.
Well, I'm keeping my pants on because I'm the male. And he is as well, so he gets to keep his pants on. So it's going to be a really boring movie. That sounded so gay and creepy.
50 Shades of Gay.
Yeah.
Starring Dave Wade.
Burhan, let
go
him
and
do
check
his
out my
plug.
Facebook. Go and check out my Facebook post so you can see the greatest superhero in the world. That is Ratboy, who will soon be my dog. Fingers crossed. Hopefully.
Oh.
Yeah, keep me fingers crossed, because I'm working on it. And I'll let you on a secret. Rat Boy's actually a girl called Bubbles, and the person I'm buying her off, which is my brother, hates the fact that I got her to respond to Rat Boy.
Aww.
She comes to my house and I shout Rat Boy. She comes running over and jumps up on my chest and goes mental. She's lovely because she's a mini Yorkie, and mini Yorkies are amazing. Anyway, sorry about YouTube. Yeah, Wednesday is my serious vloggy waffle thing, and I should have mentioned it last week, and we'll talk. I won't go too much into it. We'll talk about it on Burhan and the Boy tonight, Mr. Burhan. But I've been on YouTube for 4 years. How scary is that? I mean, making content for 4 years.
And you still don't have advertisers? That's unfortunate.
I could have them, I just don't want to because it means I would have to pick through my... Yeah, and I would have to... Not because I don't... Well, if I did it now, everyone would call me a sellout and I get a massive amount of trolls, which I don't really care about because I got them anyway. But at the same time, it means the way copyright works is, seeing as I have big enough problem not advertising with Konami right now, who can only let me put videos up for their gameplays unless they can advertise on them, I know the minute I flick that switch for advertisement, I'm probably going to get 3 strikes and be gone. Even though I've not done anything stupid or anything like that, but it's such a convoluted world for gameplays. So, bollocks, I'll happily do this as a hobby for the rest of my life, which is kind of what my vlog touches upon. Makes me smile. It means I make good people like all of you guys. It makes me happy. So yeah, but yeah, 4 years, scary, really scary. As I mentioned in the video, which is, even though this is the British thing, Miguel, we do, which is we like to have bold statements, which is, that's 1 year less than half a decade.
You know, you've actually been on YouTube a year less than me. I'm actually 5 years, believe it or not.
Oh, la-di-da.
Yes, la-di-da, Mr. fucking Frenchman, exactly.
But also, yeah, carrying on with the gameplays, I'm doing a lot of Wii U gameplays at the moment, just because I'm sick and tired of people bashing it, because it's a fucking amazing system. So come love the Wii U.
Yeah, and it's got a tablet.
Die at the fiery pits of Hades, my sword.
Because you're going to break the tablet, honestly.
I need to buy that battery kit you bought as well, because my battery life's shite. And yeah, there you go. So yeah, if you like retro video games, if you like pointless vloggy waffles, if you like to know my 5 favourite crisps ever, and come and... It was a real video, by the way, Nina. Come and check me out.
I would watch that video.
It's last week's Wednesday. Last week's Wednesday vlog. And the worst thing is, after I did the video, because I opened each of the 5 packets of crisps to show people, once I ended the video, I put them all into a bowl and ate them all in one go, because I thought, I can't waste them. That's a waste of money. And then I had bacony belches all day long when I was lying in bed.
That's how many people get fat. It's like, I can't waste this. I spent money on
it. But if you've not seen, like, this sounds terrible, and I'm getting shit from this at work from the few people who know my Facebook. If you've not seen the food creations I put on my Facebook page, and someone at work last night came up to me and was really angry and said, it's not fucking fair. Look at the shit you eat. And you're not 30 stone. I went, A, it's not my fault. Blame God. B, he doesn't exist. And C, believe it or not, I don't eat that all the time. And when you have a job that you basically walk 11 kilometers a day in, it affords you the luxury to eat shit.
And D, I do loads of rigorous anal.
It's true, with Burhan mainly.
For that extra calories.
Only he takes it, not me. He's lying.
That's why we call it Burhan and the Boy.
Send in your creepy fan fiction. Send in your creepy fan fiction and fan art to Michael Burhan at nerdgenius.com.
Yes, and also, ladies and gentlemen, you can get your fan art turned into a Kindle book that will probably sell millions, and then get a movie made for it.
I would love to see you and Dave in an R-rated erotica film.
50 Shades of Burhan.
And the Boy.
Yeah, and the Boy.
Oh, it rhymes.
All right. All right, folks. And Nina, let's kind of cut this before it goes too far. And Nina, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Anina Kaski. That's ANNINA KASKI.
And
there I am at the moment.
I want to add, let's cut this before it gets too far, is the title of your sex tape. Sorry, had to.
Mine or yours?
Yours.
Yes.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
And with that, you can find us here every Wednesday night for the Untitled Movie Show on YouTube.com. For myself, for Michael Burhan, for
and
Dave
Burn
Wade.
the Boy Tonight, by the way, people. Sorry, Burn the Boy Tonight.
Thursday night, 8 p.m. EST.
Yes, Thursday night, 8 p.m. You can find us here every Wednesday night around 8 p.m.-ish for the Untitled Movie Show. So for myself, for Michael Burhan, for Dave Wade, and for Nina Kasky, take us out, Jay.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in the filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away, zit face.
No way, Jose!